Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Building a pirate group. The crew is the villain of all worlds. Chapter 61. It is reasonable for Ariel and Sid to master armament hockey so quickly in Kurata's opinion. These two people were chosen by the system to be teleported to become his partners, which must be their strength and talent. At the same time, don't underestimate the super-fast three-color hockey training method. In addition to the previous battle, Sid and Ariel also carefully sensed armament hockey on Aokiji and Garp respectively, how to use it and what kind of energy flow. So the two spent a little time and finally mastered armament hockey. Next, it depends on their continued efforts. As for observation hockey, Kurata estimates that they will have to train for a while. There is also an interesting thing, that is, Kurata once asked Sid, since his magic can hurt elemental ability users, why do you want to learn armament hockey? Sid replied at the time, there is nothing wrong with learning more things, and learning armament hockey can greatly enhance my combat power even when I use magic. Kurata thought about it and it made sense, so he didn't stop him. As for Ariel's awakening of Conqueror hockey so quickly, unlike Sid, who obtained it through the system, Kurata was also very surprised, but he was relieved after thinking about it. After all, as the demon king of a world and the supreme leader of a race, plus Ariel's queen temperament now, according to the view of Conqueror hockey in the pirate world, Ariel does have the potential of a king, so it is reasonable for her to awaken Conqueror hockey. But it must be said that these two people are really worthy of being villains from other worlds. Their talents are really beyond doubt. They have only been here for a few days, and their strength has increased rapidly. At the same time, in these few days, the two sisters Alan and Lucy Luke, will also practice regularly, and their strength has also increased a little bit. As for the Ghost Corps, after the cooling time was over, Kurata used the 3 tokens twice again. The Ninja Corps now has 600 people, and the Samurai Corps and the Troll Corps now have 250 people each. After 3 days of recuperation, the 3 monsters have also recovered. King Air and Latora continue to come out to maintain the sky and the sea. As for Gamora, he naturally stays in the ultimate battle instrument with King Red, Golzon, and Melba, who have not appeared for the first time. Everything is fine and normal. They have recovered from the previous battle and their strength has been slightly improved. At the same time, at the New World Economic News Agency, through his own efforts in the past few days, he finally wrote a newspaper that made him completely satisfied from beginning to end. Morgans quickly took the newspaper down, asked his men to print it, and then published it to the world, so that many people can see this shocking news, and he will also take the opportunity to make a lot of money. Garp and his navy were docked in a small town at this time, and they rested for a while. Many soldiers finally recovered from the frustration of this defeat, but their faces were still not good. After all, they still had to return to the Navy headquarters as losers. In this regard, Garp Aokiji and other high-ranking Navy officials were helpless, but they could only order to continue sailing and return immediately. After all, this matter was really a bit serious, and an internal meeting of the Navy had to be held in person. Just like the wine that was about to be successfully brewed, the previous things were finally revealed thoroughly. First of all, especially on the side of the New World Economic News Agency, the seagulls that had been prepared long ago took generations of newspapers and flew to all parts of the world. In the brand new morning, the bull was still moving towards the West Rob village at a slow speed. Today's weather was still very beautiful, with blue sky, white clouds and bright sunshine. Kurata took a lounge chair, put on sunglasses, and was basking in the sun. Alan and Sid were playing chess next to them, and the two sisters and Ariel were actually playing landlord. In order to kill the free leisure time, Kurata and Sid discussed and immediately used some of their entertainment methods in their previous lives to suppress the boredom of their partners on the ship. Seeing this warm and happy scene, Kurata was also very happy. After all, his partners are getting along very well now. Suddenly, he looked to the side, but after seeing what it was, he immediately relaxed his vigilance, and then smiled. It finally came. What else could it be besides the newspaper seagull that was parked on the mast at this time? And after he found out, it seemed that the seagull that delivered the newspaper the first 2 times was also this seagull. He estimated that Morgans had eaten the good news from them several times, so it was estimated that this time the seagull was specifically responsible for their side and was taken care of by that family. The guy sent it here. Kuruda didn't think much about it, it was just a seagull delivering newspapers. He didn't need to do anything to a seagull, otherwise, if there were no seagulls delivering newspapers in the future, he would suffer a loss if he didn't have any good intelligence means at present. But now think about it, it should be their previous things, which were finally written into newspapers by Morgans and sent over. After all, he thought that apart from what they did recently, there shouldn't be anything big. One Bailey, one newspaper. Kuruda threw a Bailey to the seagull. But what surprised him was that the seagull didn't give him the newspaper, but directly showed 5 feathers. What, 5 Baileys, why did you raise the price so much? The newspaper that originally cost 1 Bailey actually increased by $4, Kuruda said unhappily. But the seagull soon let him know why the price increased. When the seagull took out a newspaper from the bag, Kuruda's mouth twitched immediately. It turned out that it was a newspaper made up of several newspapers bound together. No wonder it was so expensive. Forget it, it's only 4 Baileys anyway, a small amount of money. Kuruda took out 4 Baileys again, and the seagull immediately handed the newspaper to Kuruda and flew away. Is it about us? Kuruda turned his head when he heard the voice, and then he found that everyone had come here. But he made a lot of noise here, no wonder he attracted everyone. That's right, now whether it's Sid, Ariel or Alan and the 2 sisters are here. Obviously, everyone is still very concerned about being in the newspaper. Yes, it's finally here after so many days, come on, everyone take a look. Kuruda said as he put the newspaper on the table next to him. Everyone quickly gathered around a table and started reading. Especially Kuruda, seeing the title above, as well as the overall content and photos, he had to admit that Morgans had indeed achieved the ultimate in reporters and intelligence. They had fought a lot with the Navy before, and the actual situation was written on it, as well as the photos, and the title also served as a good foil. It was written on it. The Navy sent the hero Garp, Admiral Aokiji and 2 Admiral candidates Momotosagi and Chatten to the East China Sea to try to hunt down or eliminate the strongest rookie pirate group today, the Fallen Pirates. On the day of the decisive battle, the captain of the Fallen Pirates, Kuruda, personally led the team to take the initiative to meet the Navy, and the 2 sides started a contest. Isn't Kuruda the ability user of the black smoke fruit? How can he use the ability of ice? Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket shocked. The Fallen Pirates have a strange warrior group and a big guy group in addition to the ninja group. They are not afraid of death when fighting. They seem to be a special unknown race. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. The Fallen Pirates have shown powerful technological means, energy cannons that surpass the Navy's artillery, and energy shields that can block the fierce attacks of the Navy's artillery. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. The ratio of casualties between the black-clothed troops and the Navy soldiers is terrifying. 1:3. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. 2 giant beasts that can compete with the vice admirals of the Navy, 2 dinosaur-like, one with infinite strength, one that can use electric current, and a firebird that is good at aerial attacks. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. Shocked, completely shocked, the young girl who suppressed Garp in physical skills. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. The swordsman of the Fallen Pirates, I don't know if it's the power of the devil fruit or the special ability, he cut the elementalized Admiral Aokiji with one sword. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. The chef of the Fallen Pirates, Alan, is not the natural earth fruit ability user as guessed, but a stronger mythical beast species. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. Lucy and Luke, the twin sisters of the Fallen Pirates navigators, seem to have a strong super recovery ability. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. The black smoke energy in the hands of the captain of the Fallen Pirates, Kuruda, may be extremely special, and seems to have the ability to instantly destroy anything. Close double angle bracket. Open double angle bracket. In the end, the Navy was completely defeated, Garp announced his retreat, and the Fallen Pirates won. Close double angle bracket. Under these titles, there are detailed content and photos. Yo, Captain, it's all about us, and now even I'm famous. Ariel smiled in pretended surprise. After all, after understanding the world of pirates, she had long expected this result. This is natural, but I'm still more curious about how many bounties the Navy will give us next. Kuruda took another look at the newspaper and said indifferently. After all, it was something they had already done, so there was nothing to watch. He was more concerned about how much reputation he could get next, and how much the Navy offered them for the first time. When they heard Kuruda talking about the bounty, everyone's eyes lit up. You know, the bounty can be said to be the basis for measuring a pirate's strength, status, and deterrence. So they all became curious about their bounties. How much gold would it be? Okay, everyone return to your posts, or continue to rest and practice. Our situation has been spread a lot. I guess some people will keep coming to us, even some from the New World. Be prepared to face it. Kuruda waved his hand and said, "Yes, Captain." Everyone left quickly, but they were basically having fun, but when they left, Sid and Ariel gave him a look. Kuruda nodded, indicating that he had not forgotten, and the two left with satisfaction. In response, Kuruda smiled helplessly and continued to bask in the sun. At the same time, as the newspaper continued to spread around the world, after getting the newspaper, he looked at the news on it. Suddenly, the whole sea shook again. The Navy actually lost, and even with heroes and admirals leading the team, they still lost. What kind of rookie pirate group is still wandering in the East China Sea? What the hell is the fallen pirates? I think it's reasonable for the Navy to lose. After all, whether it's strength or foundation, both we and the Navy underestimated the fallen pirates. But what are these women who can beat Garp in physical skills? Super technology, giant beasts, what are these? I don't know. Anyway, in the East China Sea, there is already a rising star. When they come to the New World, it is estimated that even this place will become more lively. Rookie pirate group. With their current strength and record, do you dare to say that they are rookies? Seeing the content in the newspaper, whether it is pirates, Navy, or some ordinary people, they all discussed it. But whether it is the fallen pirates who repelled the Navy or the current situation of the fallen pirates, they were completely shocked. Especially those who are more experienced and have better intelligence, they know why the Navy let Garp lead the team to the East China Sea this time. Originally, they thought that the fallen pirates were just a small carp that splashed a little water, and they would soon be caught and thrown into the impel down or destroyed. Because of the Navy's lineup this time, even the Four Emperors pirates would have to face it seriously. After all, there were monster admirals and hero Garp among them. But they were caught off guard by the fallen pirates with a lot of background and trump cards, and finally repelled. How could they not be shocked? You know, they originally thought that the fallen pirates would not be able to escape this time. Even the 7 warlords of the sea and the 4 emperors became a little interested after seeing the newspaper. Of course, not all of the 7 warlords of the sea, only a few. For example, Jinbei is still more inclined to the Whitebeard pirates, and if there is no threat to Fishman Island, he will not care too much. The Empress is in the Daughter Island, which is basically closed to the outside world. It is estimated that it is the same as in the original book. She will only read the newspaper when the celestial dragons are beaten or killed, otherwise she will basically disdain everything else. Bartholomew Kuma, an undercover sent by the Revolutionary Army, is still far from the world being transformed, so he won't say much without news from the Revolutionary Army. As for Crocodile and Moria, they challenged Whitebeard and Kaido respectively a long time ago and were hit. One is stealing the country to find Hades, and the other is busy making zombies. Although the two have also read the newspapers, they are a little disdainful out of a mysterious confidence, and even say that if you have the ability, come, Crocodile is waiting for them. Watch me Moria make them into new zombies. As for the other two, they are naturally a little different. At this time, Hawkeye Mahawk, who has been idle and has come to the East China Sea, rowing his boat with his weapon Black Knife Knight, is also reading a newspaper, but his eyes are always fixed on a photo. That was the photo of Sid slashing Aokiji with a sword. Looking at the sharp eyes, tricky movements, superb swordsmanship, and the special energy on the sword, Hawkeye Mahawk is as his name suggests. His eyes are really like Hawk's eyes. And now, these Hawk's eyes seem to have seen prey, full of excitement, and even his mouth corners are slightly raised. It's in the East China Sea, mysterious black swordsman, it seems that this trip is not in vain. As long as you haven't left the East China Sea, I will find you. I believe your swordsmanship will not disappoint me. Obviously, Hawkeye has become interested in Sid's performance. As for the other members of the fallen pirates, they are either strong in physical skills or users of devil fruit abilities. He, who only has swords in his heart, naturally has no interest. At the same time, he didn't know that in order to prevent the news of his rowing at night with a black knife from spreading, a pirate group would appear in front of him and then be chased to the East China Sea by him. Alas, the unlucky Creek pirates. It was not just him who was interested, but also another Shichibukai. Dressrosa Kingdom. Hehehehe, they can win like this, it seems that we can't underestimate them. This is a rookie pirate group. The other side has at least 3 admiral-level strongmen. We should be a little careful. The family can't afford to offend them. Doflamingo, who was sitting in the first chair of the palace, was also very surprised when he saw the content of the photo newspaper. The fallen pirates can win against such a lineup of the navy. To be precise, it should be that Garp saw that there was no hope of winning, so he ordered a retreat. As a celestial dragon who was driven out, he was able to get to where he is now. He is the top pirate on the sea, the head of a family, a thief of a country, and one of the 6 dark kings in the underground, Doflamingo, who mainly sells arms. Of course, he can still see a little bit of the secret through the newspaper. But if it is the top swordsman who can attract Hawkeye, then the fallen pirates have attracted Doflamingo's attention as an arms dealer and half a technology dealer. Doflamingo naturally took a fancy to the obvious energy cannon in the photo and the protective shield that seemed to be produced by technological means. Seeing these 2 items, high-tech, his eyes were almost straight. Good stuff. If he could get it, let Caesar take a look and see if it can be mass-produced. If it can, he can make a lot of money again. But thinking of the other party's strength, the excitement suddenly extinguished a little. Forget it, let's take a look first, and I don't believe that the other party has no ambition to enter the Great Navigation, especially this Captain Kuruda. After thinking about it, Doflamingo decided to wait for the other party to come before doing it, and now the business in the family is also good, no need to supplement. But he will keep an eye on the fallen pirates at any time. At the same time, the 4 emperors also attracted some attention. Red Hair was very shocked. The foundation and strength of the fallen pirates actually exceeded his previous imagination. At the same time, he was also looking forward to the other party entering the new world to make it more lively. Because in Shanks's eyes, the current fallen pirates should not destroy the current peace situation too much, and can even reduce the pressure of some ordinary people, so there is no need for him to be overly hostile to the other party. In the midst of laughter and joy, this guy is actually holding a party again. Whitebeard Edward Newgate is also okay, but at this time, he was also full of surprise to see Garp being defeated by a little girl in physical skills. Because he knew very well that the strongest physical player at the time was not a joke. Although he did not fight with Garp too much, after all, the navy that faced him when he was young was Sengoku. Garp and Zephyr, the old guy, were attracted by Roger and Golden Lion. But now seeing this man of the same era actually lose in physical skills, he couldn't help but sigh that he might really be old, and the newcomers are getting more and more terrible. The old era is about to pass, and the new era will come. And he knows his own body well, and he may not be able to take this trip. Taking advantage of the last time, accompanying his son is what he values most now. But seeing the navy fight such a losing battle, he is also very happy. The old opponent makes a fool of himself and fails, which is what he likes to see. At the same time, he is also very optimistic about the fallen pirates, a powerful rookie of the pirate group. But the other 4 emperors are different. Onigashima, Wano country. In an attic, Kaido, who has a majestic figure of 8 meters and a fierce face, is eating and drinking meat. There are many people from the beast pirates serving him below, serving plates, dishes and wine, and some women are fanning him beside. At this time, a man in black armor walked in. Kaido said directly after seeing him, "Jin, what's the matter?" Obviously, the visitor was naturally Jin, one of the 3 calamities of the beast's pirates. "Lord Kaido, this is today's newspaper. I picked out the 2 most important ones. I believe you should be interested." Jin handed a newspaper to Kaido directly. Oh, hearing him say this, Kaido naturally sobered up, put down the meat, picked up the newspaper and started reading. Soon, Kaido also saw the content above, and then Kaido's eyes lit up. What he saw was naturally what Jin had specially selected. What can make Kaido interested is undoubtedly the animal-type fruit ability user, otherwise he would not have formed a Beasts Pirates that is basically full of animal-type fruit ability users, and even in the near future, it is estimated that he will soon cooperate with Doflamingo to produce artificial animal-type devil fruits. Then create a large number of artificial devil fruit ability users. Or it is based on his dream, a world based on force, something that he can be favored and can fulfill his dream. What Kaido saw at this time was naturally the scene of Alan using the Teoti fruit to enter the Beastman form, waving the clear sky hammer to control the earth element, especially the sentence in the newspaper that seemed to be a user of the mythical beast fruit. Kaido was convinced, after all, the ancient species and ordinary species could not have the ability to control the earth element. But at the same time, what attracted him was naturally those giant beasts, the mighty and domineering Triceratops, the strange dragon that could discharge electricity, and the small giant bird that kept spitting fireballs at a very fast speed. Seeing the photos of these three giant beasts fighting heroically, especially the description of the size, Kaido's eyes were almost straight. Haha, that's interesting. It's so interesting. No, whether it's a person with phantom beast ability or these giant beasts, they should belong to Kaido, the king of beasts. Kaido suddenly laughed and said, "Let Jack go and recruit this phantom beast species fruit ability user, and ask this small pirate group to hand over these giant beasts, especially the method of order. If the other party is unwilling, just grab it directly." Kaido gave the order directly after laughing. Although he had to admit that the fallen pirates were indeed in their early stages and had surpassed the Rocks pirates, who were also in their early stages. But after all, they were just newcomers and were far from being able to compare with veteran powerhouses like them. Moreover, the prestige that Kaido has gained over the years is not in vain. Even if he shoots a fool like Jeter out, as long as he hears his name, he believes that the other person will just obey him. He has such confidence. At the same time, he seemed to also see that he was about to command the giant beast, and his team would finally have one more person, a third phantom beast species ability user besides him and his treacherous son. Yes, Lord Kaido. Jin quickly went down to make arrangements. He didn't say anything to dissuade. It was obvious that he recognized Kaido's words. When the other party heard about their reputation, they had no reason to refuse. But unfortunately, the fallen pirates are not a hard nut that the beast's pirates can swallow, and they may even have to bite them back in the future. At the same time, Wanguo Cake Island, the only female among the four emperors today, Charlotte Linlin, was a great beauty many years ago, but now she is old and ugly. With her current appearance, even if the members of the Rocks Pirates are still alive, it is estimated that it will destroy their image in their hearts. The former great beauty has become like this. But to be able to become one of the four emperors, Big Mom's strength, influence, and power are basically not weak. But in terms of hobbies, she also has the most among the four emperors. Let's not talk about her love of sweets, otherwise the entire Wanguo would not be what it is now, and many islands are basically made up of delicacies. She also likes to form a big family. It can be said that she is the most fertile woman in the world of pirates today, with 39 daughters, 46 sons, and 43 husbands. However, it is said that these husbands will be abandoned after giving birth. Her dream is to establish a country where all races and things in the world can live together regardless of their status. She hopes that all races in the world can become family members, and become the same size as her, sitting around the table to eat on an equal footing. So basically all races in the pirate world can be seen in Wanogo. Of course, there are also some that do not exist, such as the giants, who grew up in Elbaf, the country of giants, when they were young, and were later expelled because of the bulimia rampage. As a result, many giants are disgusted with Big Mom, and even if they are captured by force, it will not work. Therefore, there is no giant in the Wanogo established by Big Mom herself. At the same time, she is full of desire for Jin, the last Lunaria in the sea today. At this time, Big Mom was sitting on a chair, enjoying the dessert on the table. She ate with relish, drooling and eating the food crazily. Suddenly, a man with red hair, 5 meters tall and strong body walked in. Did something happen to Katakuri? Auntie stopped eating dessert and looked at the most perfect second son among her sons and said, "Mom, this is a new newspaper. Take a look, I believe you will be interested." The visitor was naturally Katakuri, the leader of the four generals. After all, At this time, Snag had not been defeated by the monster Surki and thus removed from the list of generals. Oh, let me see. Hearing what Katakuri said, Auntie also took the newspaper and read it. After a while, her eyes lit up. Ha ha ha, these black warriors are obviously a brand new race. I have never heard of it before, a brand new race, so great. Obviously, Auntie became interested in the Ghost Corps, because in her opinion, this is clearly a brand new race. She has never heard of it before, but it is a brand new and unknown race, so she naturally became interested, because her hobby and dream is to build a big family with many races together. As for the others, she had no interest at all. Even those giant beasts, in her eyes, were essentially sea kings or the result of some scientific experiments. Let Cracker make a trip. Although the Fallen Pirates are a very good pirate group recently, they are just newcomers after all. Let Cracker make a trip on my behalf and ask this kid named Kuruda to hand over this race. Big Mom said immediately. Obviously, she was similar to Kaido. She was full of confidence in her own strength and prestige. She could not believe that Kuruda would choose to resist after hearing her reputation. She could only obediently offer this special race. If Kuruda were here now and heard her and Kaido's confidence speech before, he would definitely say something with disdain and contempt. You two really take yourselves seriously. If you have the guts, come to the East Sea. I'll let you come here with a smile, but you'll go back crying. What steel balloons, what strongest creatures, their current lineup may not be unable to compete with the four emperors, and when this wave of reputation comes, Kuruda and his team can improve their strength, and new partners will come. What challenges and difficulties and risks, Kuruda is now open to all. Yes, Mom. Katakuri didn't say much and went down directly. Obviously, just like Jin believed in Kaido, he also believed in Big Mom and didn't think that the Fallen Pirates would choose the second possibility at that time. Soon, the four emperors took action. Big Mom's side was naturally one of the three generals, Cookie Minister Cracker, with a bounty of 860 million Baileys. Kaido's side was naturally one of the three disasters, Drought Jack, with a bounty of 1 billion Baileys. They all boarded their own warships and set off to the East Sea. At the same time, the entire ocean was shocked and surprised by the outstanding performance of the Fallen Pirates, who defeated the Navy. At least now following the system prompt, reputation values ranging from single digits to hundreds of digits are constantly entering Kuruda's wallet. After listening for a long time, you will indeed feel bored, but now it is equivalent to a lot of money entering his wallet. Kuruda is naturally very happy. Soon after a short time, he already has a full 100,000 reputation points in less than the first day. It is enough for him to summon a new partner. But he did not use it immediately. He was still waiting. This time, the matter has not fermented yet. Now it is just the first wave. There will be a lot more next. At least he did not see the Navy in the system prompt. Even if there are, it is a small part, or some small Navy. Those high-level Navy officials have not yet. Kuruda estimated that the Navy's meeting has not started yet, and Garp and others have not returned yet. Otherwise, relying on the Navy, he can at least help him at least 8,000 reputation points again. After all, the Navy is really large and strong. After watching the prompt sound for a while, Kuruda closed it. He planned to wait for a while, wait a few more days, and by then his reputation value would exceed 200,000 in his estimation. By then, they would soon arrive at Zyo Village, and it would not be too late to buy a lot in the system. Whether it was a new partner or some things he wanted to buy. But at the same time, he was also thinking about what kind of requirements he had for the new partner. I have the swordsman, helmsman, navigator, and chef. Although I have a blue light energy shield now, I can't guarantee that Milo will be destroyed in future battles and will not need to be repaired. A shipbuilder is already necessary. And if a scientist comes, if he has strong scientific research ability, the reputation value can be saved to buy other things in the system mall. Kuruda thought while continuing to bask in the sun. Obviously, for the next partner, he only has two requirements, a shipbuilder and a scientist, which are the professional ability users he needs very much now. At the same time, at the Navy headquarters, Zongguo naturally saw the newspaper and immediately twitched his mouth. It was not because of the above content, but because their Navy had not known the result yet, and Morgans had already written a report, so fast. Sengoku had to admit that the Birdman was still capable. In terms of intelligence capabilities, in some aspects, he was even better than their navy and the world government. But because of seeing this newspaper, Sengoku now didn't need Garp to come back to explain, he already understood why the navy lost. They had indeed underestimated the foundation and strength of the fallen pirates before, which led to their natural loss. Unexpectedly, the other side had not only a ninja group, but also a samurai group and a big guy group, and could command and control such a large beast, and also super technology. The original fruit ability of Kuruda and the other four was also underestimated by them. Although it was not clear what it was, Garp and the others knew it when they came back. Although I know a lot from the newspaper, I still need to discuss it in detail, such as how much the bounty is set, and what actions the navy will take next. Otherwise, facing the fallen pirates, who he didn't even know if they had any trump cards, it is estimated that the end of the navy will be difficult. But at the same time, the old guy was also very envious. Special soldiers, giant beasts that obey orders, and super technology, it would be great if all of these belonged to the navy. At the same time, he also cursed, such a capable and talented young man, why did he become a pirate? Even if he didn't come to the navy, couldn't he continue to be a bounty hunter? He had to set up a pirate group, and he took the route of this super elite group, and the route of super elite soldiers, and his trump cards and strengths were so endless. But it seems that, let's not talk about other things, judging from the current team of the opponent, they already have at least 3 admirals, and there are people who are already extremely close to the strength of the admiral. It's really not easy to deal with, let's wait a few days. How should this fallen pirate group be dealt with? What kind of lineup should be sent next time? Zhongguo said with some distress. But he also knew that compared with this lineup, at least one more admiral and more vice admirals should be sent. Alas, how come things suddenly changed so much? Zhongguo said. Next, he made several phone calls in succession, asking when Garp and the others would be back. He nodded with satisfaction when he heard that it would be 2 days before he finally heard good news that was not bad. At the same time, he also learned from Crane that, in addition to the vice admirals and giant vice admirals who really had to leave due to emergencies, there were at least a dozen vice admirals who could come, and they were all senior vice admirals, able to attend this meeting. The high-ranking officers of the Navy, in addition to Kong, who has been promoted to the commander of the 3 armies, even Zephyr, who is now the chief instructor of the Navy, came. Hearing the good news today, Sengoku was relieved. Everything depends on the meeting in 2 days, because he really saw great pressure on the fallen pirates, and he also found out that Sid and Ariel, one was found, and the other took the initiative to deliver to the door, plus he heard that Kuruda used to do business in the East China Sea. So, such young strong men, who are now hiding in the East China Sea, does Kuruda know some of them? If he is asked to continue looking, thinking of this, Sengoku dare not think about it. Soon, 2 days later, after Garp and his team had returned, Sengoku first called and asked Garp and his team of 6 to come together immediately. That is, all 6 high-ranking Navy officials, including Garp, came to attend this meeting. At the same time, he also asked Crane and Zephyr to bring everyone over, and summoned all the Navy vice admirals except the giant vice admirals and those on emergency missions. Sengoku himself also left the office. After all, it was impossible for the Navy to hold a meeting in his office. Not to mention that it was too small, it was also to prevent some people from messing up his office and taking out the tea and senbei stored in it to eat. There were 2 people next to Sengoku, who were from the intelligence department. What they were holding in their hands was some new information about the fallen pirates that Sengoku had asked them to collect a long time ago. When Sengoku walked into the special meeting room, he found that many people had already come, or he was the last one. The meeting room of the Navy seemed to be a large room with a large rectangular table in the middle. Sengoku brought 2 intelligence soldiers. He sat in the first seat, and the 2 soldiers stood on both sides behind him. Then on the left of Sengoku sat Garp, Zephyr, and Crane, the 3 old Navy men, and on the right sat the current 3 admirals of the Navy, Aokiji, Akainu, and Kizaru, who had all returned. Then came the 2 alternate admirals of the Navy, Momozabushi and Chaton, and the vice admirals, sitting on the left and right sides respectively. After taking another look at them, Sengoku said directly, "I think you all know why this meeting is held and for what purpose. Because I believe everyone has read the newspaper. Yes, this time we are mainly talking about the strongest new pirate group that has recently emerged, the Fallen Pirates. At the same time, you should also know that the Navy has tried to capture or eliminate this nest of pirates twice before, but both failed. The previous time was when our senior Vice Admirals Onagumo and Huoshaoshin led 2 top Navy warships and 300 soldiers to fail, and even became prisoners. The other side threatened that our Navy must hand over 50 million Baileys. Speaking of this, Sengoku paused first, which was also a time for people to digest. At this time, although everyone already knew that the main topic of this meeting was the fallen pirates, when they heard that Ghost Spider and Fire Mountain were captured, many people, especially the vice admirals, all looked at them, either blinking or curious, and even with some mocking eyes. In short, it was just one word, gloating. What happened to you? You were captured, defeated, and forced to threaten to pay money. Seeing everyone looking at them, Fire Mountain just smiled bitterly, but his heart was still full of bitterness. This was already a black history in his life, which could not be erased. But after Ghost Spider blushed, he still gritted his teeth and squeezed out a sentence, mainly to the vice admirals: if you go, you will also be captured. The opponent's lineup is not something that people with the strength of a vice admiral can deal with. After hearing this, the other vice admirals also fell silent, because they had to admit that if they went to lead the team with just 2 people, they would only be captured. Seeing that everyone was silent, and the 6 people on his left and right sides did not speak, he continued. In order to save their companions and to destroy the fallen pirates, 10 days ago, Vice Admiral Garp, Admiral Aokiji Kuzan, Momotosagi, and 2 alternate admirals Chatten, once again led 500 elite soldiers on 2 warships to the East China Sea to rescue people and eliminate pirates. We thought we could succeed immediately this time. After all, even the 4 emperors would be afraid of our Navy's lineup. But unfortunately, we underestimated the fallen pirates. We still lost. Our Navy was defeated again. The fallen pirates caused an indelible shame to our Navy, but at the same time, we have to admit that they are a very excellent new pirate group. Their threat to our Navy can be said to be second only to the 4 emperors. As Sengoku finished his words, many vice admirals in the audience gasped in shock. Even the 6 people next to Sengoku were surprised, but they nodded quickly, including Akainu. Although he was arrogant, he could still see the facts clearly. Because even they had to admit that although it was a new pirate group, the danger level of the fallen pirates was indeed no less than that of the 4 emperors. Nonsense, the black warriors who were stronger than the Navy soldiers, the top combat power was 3 admirals and 3 alternate admirals. Such combat power, even after the redemption of Onagumo and others, is still a bit inferior, and they have also read the newspapers. The top members of the fallen pirates are indeed not ordinary people. Oh my god, second only to the 4 emperors, too surprising, right? But the opponent's strength is indeed worthy of this statement. But this pirate group has only appeared for a few days, not even 2 months. Many vice admirals also discussed this. They were frightened by the fallen pirates. Okay, let's stop here. Although Garp failed in these 2 battles, I still want you to talk, including everyone involved this time. After fighting with them, some of your thoughts and specific experiences, as well as the situation of the other party. Sengoku interrupted their speech and immediately said to Garp, on the day of the war, we were docked at sea and were about to set off. The other party took the initiative to come. I feel that they should have known about our arrival in advance. I just don't know what intelligence means they used to know. Garp nodded and said immediately. At the same time, he was also very curious about how Kuruda knew that they had come to the East China Sea, and from which direction. Mr. Garp, I have a guess about this. I thought of it before I came back. Do you remember that the other party has a big bird? Aokiji spoke at this time and expressed his guess. You mean? Garp heard this and immediately thought of something. When Kuruda summoned the giant beast, the bird flew down above us. According to the speed of the bird, Kuruda may not be able to know our movements. Aokiji said. If this is the case, it can be explained, but we didn't notice it. It seems that the bird flew very high. Garp nodded and understood it immediately, but at the same time he quickly continued to speak. Then we handed over the money and the people, and easily rescued Ghost Spider and the others. Before we could take action, the boy actually froze the entire sea area. Both our warships and their ships were frozen in the ice, forming an ice battlefield. As for why the boy can use the freezing ability, I will tell you later, because before we retreated, the boy said what his fruit was. We also understood at that time why this boy could have the power to control ice. Seeing that the Vice Admiral, who had heard that Kuruda could actually use the power of ice, wanted to ask questions and was surprised, and even Zephyr next to him, after Garp explained, everyone stopped asking. After all, he would tell it next. Later, Kuruda summoned those black-clad soldiers to jump off the ship, or to come out of the shadows on the ship. However, unexpectedly, in addition to ninjas, there were many samurai and big guys. Although their mobility was not as good as that of ninjas, their frontal combat power, defense and attack power were indeed much stronger than those of ninjas. Many Navy soldiers died under these two types of soldiers. Moreover, after our preliminary discussion in the past few days, we can conclude that this is either a new unknown race, or, well, I can't explain it clearly. Those black-clad soldiers always feel weird. Everyone listened well at first, but when they heard the last sentence, they were speechless. You might as well not say the last sentence. But it is certain that this is now a special corps belonging to the fallen pirates. The other party seems to call it the Ghost Corps. Crane next to him said. He has been sorting out intelligence these days, especially after the newspaper came, so she immediately added it to ease the current embarrassment. Garp also immediately continued to speak. Haha, I continue. Next is the giant beast you saw in the newspaper. Two big ones came out of the sea and jumped onto the ice. The little bird flew down from the sky. It seems that they have summoned all the combat power on their side. Kuruda was about to launch a full-scale attack on us, but was stopped by me. I asked a question. They were just bounty hunters before, why did they suddenly choose to become pirates? Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Obviously, they were also very curious. Such a strong man, such a group of talented teenagers, why would they become pirates? Now it's good. The Navy has failed twice in a row. If they continue to be bounty hunters, how can these things happen? Among them, especially Sengoku and Crane, they are also very curious about what the young people nowadays think. That's what Kuruda answered at that time. Garp quickly told Kuruda's thoughts and goals at that time. After hearing this, everyone was dumbfounded and angry. After all, Kuruda was scolding Sang. Why, scolded their navy as well. What do you mean by saying that the navy is the dog of the world government? How can anyone tell the truth like this? This is a bit too direct. But there was more silence, and some people felt that even what Kuruda said made sense. Because they have been at sea for many years and have been to many places, they naturally know very well how difficult life is at the bottom. At the same time, I also understand how dark the world is now. Kuruda just represents the bottom class and speaks what most people think. However, fight violence with violence and counter the current darkness with greater darkness. This. Even Akainu Sakazuki didn't know what to say at this time. If it was in the past, with his absolute justice concept, he didn't care what the other party's reason was, as long as they became pirates, they should be eliminated. If it was a normal meeting, he would have scolded them long ago. In short, if they were pirates, they should die. But after listening to Garp's talk about the other party's philosophy, Akainu couldn't say anything this time. Because if the people of the fallen pirates really came from the bottom, then their origins were actually similar to his. It was precisely because he climbed up from such a position, and when he was young, he witnessed his family members' tragic deaths at the hands of pirates, and some inaction of local officials, so in addition to those pirates, those inaction officials, he also hated them very much, and wished to burn them to ashes with magma. Because they all climbed up from the bottom, and they have been in the Navy for so many years and have been to many places, he also understood that Kuruda was just speaking for the voices of many people at the bottom, and over the years, he was also dissatisfied with some decisions of the world government and the Navy. That's why he wanted to become a marshal after Sengoku abdicated in the future, and maybe he would be able to change all this. But now, after holding it in for a long time, he finally said something. What a mess of reasons. As long as he has become a pirate, we should eliminate or arrest him. After he said this, he naturally got a lot of support from the Navy, especially the hawkish Navy on his side. But some rational Navy really looked at them speechless. With the opponent's strength, the Navy would have to do its best, unless it was difficult to win. Besides, it was the East China Sea, and the Navy's jurisdiction was not enough. Garp, I think if this kid continues to develop, he may become the second dragon. At this time, the chief instructor of the Navy, Zepha, finally spoke. Hiss, but after hearing this, the vice admirals below took a breath of cold air. Dragon, whose full name should be Monkey D. Dragon, was once promoted to admiral in the Navy. Later, because of different ideas, he chose to withdraw from the Navy and establish the Revolutionary Army, which is now a headache for the world government and the Navy. He is the most vicious criminal in the world today. But now, the teacher Zepha, who is the most respected by many people in their Navy, actually made such an evaluation of Kuruda, which really shocked them. But what shocked them even more was that Garp nodded after listening, which immediately surprised them. Could it be that even Vice Admiral Garp thought that if the fallen pirates were allowed to develop further, they would really become like the Revolutionary Army, causing headaches for the Navy and the world government? Okay, let's stop here first. Garp, continue talking, I think it's time to fight next. Sengoku finally stood up to let everyone return to the topic, and at the same time he also understood why the other party wanted to become a pirate, and he was an idealist and powerful person. It seems that the Navy is destined to have such an enemy in the future. After all, the other party has left the Navy with the shame of 2 failures, and the shame must be washed away with the enemy's blood and their victory. But now it's time to return to the topic. Garp also nodded and continued. Then the other side sent those 3 giant beasts to attack us. When we first saw those giant beasts, we thought they only had some melee attacks, similar to ordinary beasts, but in fact, you should also know that they can also use special energy attacks. For example, this Triceratops called Gamora can launch energy attacks, and the dragon with smooth skin called King Irie can also release an energy attack, as well as lightning attacks. Then the little bird can launch fireballs. These 3 giant beasts launched such attacks at the same time, which was really powerful, equivalent to 3 lieutenant generals attacking with all their strength. At that time, it was Chatten and Shoutoutu who blocked them. But although we resisted, it was also very difficult. The attacks of those giant beasts cannot be underestimated. Tautu, who finally spoke, added. Indeed, even my earth wall was a bit difficult to resist. Chatten also spoke. At that time, there were only him and Tautu, so he knew very well that the attacks of those giant beasts could not be underestimated, at least those below the rank of general. After hearing what the 2 alternate admirals said, many of the vice admirals below also had some understanding of the strength of the beast, but they didn't know that the stories of Ghost Spider and Burning Mountain would make them more shocked by the beast. Even the 3 admirals who seemed calm at the moment were the same, including Aokiji who went with them before. The next thing is the energy shield and those special gunfire. That special blue one blocked it, and our Navy was some artillery fire. As for the power of the artillery fire, Garp said, but the last sentence he said. Aokiji quickly followed up. After all, he was responsible for resisting the energy cannon at that time. In a word, even as an admiral, he had to take such energy cannons seriously. The threat level to him could even be said to be comparable to bullets made of sea stone. And the most shocked people who heard his words were naturally Akainu and Kizaru, who were also admirals. As admirals, they naturally had some knowledge of each other's strength. Aokiji had the strongest control among them, and the very scary ice-freezing ability of the ice fruit. The ice ball was also very powerful in Aokiji's moves, but it still made Aokiji take it seriously, so after listening, even they became a little serious. Hearing you say that, it's really a terrible artillery fire. Kizaru didn't know whether he was joking or serious this time. Where did these hateful pirates find such high-tech weapons from? However, Akainu was troubled by the source of these weapons, because these weapons fell into the hands of pirates, not to mention the fallen pirates, the strongest rookie group today. I have told Vegapunk about this matter, and his answer surprised me. He said that even he would find it difficult to make such energy cannons and protective shields in a short time, and he also said that the person who could invent these 2 weapons must be a technological genius. Crane, the chief of staff of the Navy, now saw that he finally had the opportunity to speak, so he immediately said this. But this sentence once again shocked and surprised the Navy. Who is Vegapunk? He is known as the most talented scientist on the sea today. He has created a large number of top magical technologies for the world government and the Navy, and they are even protected by them. In particular, they will focus on strict investigation to prevent Vegapunk's technology from flowing outside. But now, even Vegapunk is surprised by these two technologies, and even praises the people who invented these technologies, which really makes them feel a little bit unbelievable. Garp, do you have any guesses as to why they have such technology? Zhang asked Garp next to him. I don't know, but the other party said that they got a great opportunity in the past 2 years, maybe it includes these. How could Garp know? So he could only speculate on Kuruda's previous words, the so-called great opportunity. After listening to it, everyone present knew that Garp didn't know either, but such an explanation was reasonable, because this group of people were ordinary 2 years ago, and their strength increased greatly 2 years later. They must have got some opportunity in these 2 years. This explanation is indeed reasonable. Then Garp continued to tell the story, that is, the Ghost Corps finally collided with the elite Navy soldiers, especially after Kuruda changed the fighting style of the ninjas, and focused on the fighting power and fighting methods of the ninjas, samurai and big guys in detail. Finally, he focused on the casualties ratio of the Navy soldiers and the Ghost Corps. Everyone was also very shocked after listening. This is definitely a corps that is stronger than the ordinary Navy elite, but at the same time they are also very curious. What race is this? Why does it sound so much like humans? After death, it will turn into a pile of energy and dissipate. It seems that I need to inquire later. Finally, Sengoku said this, ending the topic. What exactly those black-clad soldiers are, we will have to deal with the fallen pirates in the future to fully understand. Ghost Spider and Fire Mountain went to support the Navy. At the beginning, they also killed those big guys, ninjas, and samurai one after another. Those soldiers were still far inferior to the vice admirals, but soon, the opponent's behemoths got involved. Quote. After Garp finished speaking, it was the turn of Ghost Spider and Fire Mountain, and they also shortened their subsequent battles. They said that those giant beasts were not only huge in size, but also had a strong body density and a large weight. Although the two of them tried their best, they only chopped a little blood after talking for a long time. In the end, they were easily defeated and fainted. It also emphasized the air superiority of Latora and the power of fireballs. After saying this, even the 3 admirals became serious, because they found that if they were to deal with these giant beasts, although the opponent's attack power did not sound good before, they would have to fight for a long time in terms of defense. Although the bird looked thin, it was a bit difficult to deal with if it could fly so high and occupy the high altitude advantage. However, after listening, the 3 admirals still believed that the 2 giant beasts were a little more threatening than Latora. And then, Garp finally talked about the highlight. The 4 of them, and the collision of the 6 people on the opposite side. Especially when they heard that Garp really lost to the black-clothed girl, Ariel, in physical skills, not to mention the people below were shocked, even the 3 admirals next to them, and the other 3 Navy veterans such as Sengoku, were so scared that they almost stood up. Garp, are you sure? Sengoku said with some trembling, unbelievable. As an old comrade, he knew how terrifying Garp's attainments in physical skills were. Although they are all old now, Garp's strength has not been weakened much. How could he lose to a girl who is not even over 20 years old? Are you sure you are not teasing me again? Such a weird thing may happen. But at this time, let alone Sengoku, even Zephyr and Crane, who are also old friends, were shocked after hearing it. At the same time, they never thought that the person who could surpass and defeat Garp in physical skills would be the little girl they saw in the photo before. At the same time, both the vice admirals and the 2 generals Akainu and Kizaru were very shocked after receiving such news, because they all knew how terrible Garp was in physical skills. Garp sighed and said, Sengoku, I have fought with her for a long time. That girl, whether in close combat experience or physical strength, if I was still younger, I might be able to suppress her, but now I am really not her opponent. If it weren't for the fact that the girl didn't know how to be domineering, and my domineering attainments were also very high, I wouldn't be able to counter-suppress her later. Although Garp explained, everyone still felt incredible, and even had a thought in their hearts that it would be better not to listen. But now they had to admit that their Navy hero, Vice Admiral Garp, was really surpassed in physical skills, and it was a girl who was dressed revealingly, handsome and cute. At the same time, they thought of another point, that is, East China Sea seemed to have exploded again. No, To be precise, a group of big guys who exploded in East China Sea formed a pirate group. Because the remaining people of the fallen pirates were ordinary. Soon, bypassing such a desperate topic, Garp continued to tell the story, including that Aokiji was seen with his own eyes and was slashed by the swordsman named Sid. Before hearing this, Akainu and Kizaru beside him looked directly at him. Wow, Kuzan, you were slashed. Was it because you were careless, or was the other party really strong? Kizaru said with surprise. This time he was really surprised. Is your strength regressed, or is the other party really strong? Akainu said with curiosity and disgust. Ahem, it's like this. Although he felt a little embarrassed, it was embarrassing to say it anyway. But Aokiji had to tell the story right away. He misjudged the other party's ability and was indeed careless. He used not armament haki or overlord haki but entanglement. The other party attached a purple-black energy to the sword, so he was very confident in his ability and used elementalization directly but was cut. I am still very curious now, is it a special devil fruit ability, or is there an ability in the sea that can hurt elementalization in addition to armament haki and overlord haki entanglement? Aokiji finally said. But soon, everyone immediately recognized the first one and denied the second one. After all, the rules that the sea has not broken for thousands of years, how could it be broken by a swordsman? Even Sengoku and Crane agreed that it was a devil fruit ability user. After all, they had never seen it in person and it was difficult to judge, but the second possibility was really too small compared to the first one, so they also insisted on the second one. However, Zhongguo still emphasized that he would try Sid's ability in person and then make a judgment. In other words, the Navy should collect more information about Sid. Next, Garp continued to talk, and finally when everyone heard that Kuruda's fruit was not the black smoke fruit at all, but the ultimate natural devil fruit, the chaos fruit, and its ability, they were completely shocked again. Especially the three generals who were all natural ability users, except Aokiji who was silent again. Even Kizaru and Akainu felt shocked and ugly. Because if they go to fight Kuruda, their devil fruit ability attacks will also be instantly annihilated by the opponent's chaos energy. Instantly decomposing invisible power can also derive 10,000 powers. Did he say that at the time? You saw it with your own eyes at the time, this is true. Zephyr felt that he could hardly wear sunglasses because he was afraid that his eyes would bulge out and break the sunglasses, but is there really such a terrible devil fruit? You know, he has always emphasized that physical skills and domineering are the key. After all, the power of the devil fruit does not belong to him and is secondary. But if it is really such a perverted devil fruit, he feels that what he has always emphasized seems to be difficult to work. No, it is still useful. After all, what does domineering and physical skills have to do with the power of this chaos fruit? Well, is it really useful? Zephyr is already a little unconfident. Teacher Zephyr, it's true. Your moves were easily destroyed by the opponent's energy. The opponent just released a ball of energy. It's not a real fruit ability move, and he has used ice before, so he should also have the ability to derive all the power. Aokiji nodded and said. Can't we just bypass him and attack his body? Akainu said unwillingly. He has always wanted to destroy all the pirates, but Kuruda's ability, the super destructive magma that he is proud of, is not instantly annihilated when it hits, so he immediately thought about whether he could not attack Kuruda directly without using chaos energy. Sakazuki, don't forget, he is also a natural type and can also use elementalization. His body has become that kind of chaos energy. If we use our moves to attack him, it is estimated that the result will be the same. At present, it seems that we can only use domineering. Kizaru shook his head and expressed his own opinion, but after listening, Sakazuki's face suddenly became ugly again. Because he knew that although he was a strong man in domineering, he was still far behind the devil fruit ability. If he really went to fight Kuruda, to be honest, even a proud man like him would be a little unconfident. At the same time, he was cursing in his heart, how could such a powerful devil fruit fall into the hands of pirates? It can destroy the invisible power, but it can also prolong the power. Then, this chaos fruit can also prolong the so-called invisible power, but what is the invisible power? What does the invisible power include? As a wise general, Sengoku finally expressed his guess and opinion. I think it should be pure energy attack, flame, ice, light, slash. These attacks similar to pure energy can basically be annihilated by chaos energy. He thought immediately. But Tautu was shocked after hearing this, and said with some trembling, "Doesn't that mean that even my slashes are?" Suru didn't say anything, but nodded. Tautu took a breath of cold air. What kind of perverted devil fruit is this? I have a question in mind. Is Haki considered an invisible force? Garp suddenly said with his eyes wide open. Hiss, everyone took a breath of cold air when they heard this. They didn't want to believe this possibility, because if it was true, then even Haki couldn't deal with Kuruda. Impossible, impossible. Haki is the energy that erupts from a person's body, and Haki has a little suppressive effect on the devil fruit ability user. Zeph shook his head frantically and said. In short, to deal with Kuruda, at least 2 strong people of the same level must be sent. Zhongguo immediately summarized. He didn't want to listen anymore, because what Kuruda showed now was too terrible for them to guess. But soon, Tautu and Chatten looked at each other when they heard this. They were both substitute generals, so they actually talked about it privately before coming back, even though Tautu didn't have a good impression of Chatten. Chatten gestured to Tautu to say it, and Tautu didn't care, so she said it immediately. Marshal, if you think so, then I think it's best to treat the other side's 2 twin sisters, navigators, Lucy Luke, and even the other side's chef named Alan in the same way. Hearing this, everyone became curious. Why, are even these 3 substitute generals not simple? Is there anything special about them? Or are their devil fruits not as simple as we guessed? Zhongguo said with a headache and curiosity. Headache is naturally because this fallen pirates are not all monsters, right? Curiosity is naturally because what else can this be? Momotobu quickly continued to explain. What is the twin fruit, what is the ability? The abilities of the 2 sisters are not the meteor fruit and the meteorite fruit at all. The ability to summon meteors and meteorites comes from weapons, especially they must be dealt with at the same time, otherwise the opponent will not be injured at all, or even die. And Alan is strong, the hammer is specially made, the grade is not inferior to the supreme 2-fast sword, it is not the ability of the natural earth fruit, but the fantasy beast species, which can control the earth element. What kind of peyote fruit? The opponent is even very likely to break through the admiral. After listening, many people were dumbfounded. What kind of people are these? Really, whether it is from the top to the soldiers, they are all elite, right? This is really a terrible pirate group. Yellow Monkey Borsellino said really seriously this time. Zhongguo, when dealing with the fallen pirates, the Navy must go all out and face it seriously. Zepha also said with a serious face. Zhongguo nodded. After listening to the whole story, he had to think so, because the lineup of the fallen pirates was 2 Zenith Star. Shangguo, according to what we agreed before, should we go to the fallen pirates, he said. Everyone was stunned. It turned out that the fallen pirates had not issued a bounty yet. But that was true, otherwise the vice admirals would have known it long ago. After all, after the Navy's bounty is issued, it will be announced to the whole world. According to their strength, they are either alternate admirals or admirals. If those black-clad soldiers and behemoths are excluded, after all, they are just the other side's miscellaneous soldiers and pets. For the remaining 6 people, I think the alternate admiral must be at least 60 million, and the other admirals, including Captain Kuruda, must be at least 100 million. Zhongguo said after a group of analysis. Everyone nodded, and soon after some discussion, the meeting ended, and the bounties for the 6 people of the fallen pirates were quickly issued. On the Navy side, after finally finishing the work, not only has the bounty for the current 6 members of the fallen pirates been issued. At the same time, the current method of dealing with the fallen pirates was also issued, that is, wait and see. Because according to the discussion of warring states, the other party is still active in the East China Sea, and the Navy's jurisdiction over the East China Sea is still not strong enough. Let's wait until the other party completely enters the Grand Line, at least we have to climb the upside-down mountain first. But at the same time, they also think that the ability of Kuruda and others is too tricky, so they are also thinking about how to deal with it. In addition, the losses of the Navy, especially the elite soldiers, in the 2 battles with the fallen pirates are indeed huge, so after the order was given, the training of soldiers and the mass production of warships and weapons were also increased. On the sea, Many people are now taking action because of the fallen pirates, or they are still waiting and watching. But at this time, Kuruda is also making a lot of money, of course, not Bailey, but reputation. During the period before and after the Navy meeting, he earned the most reputation points, which fell in large quantities like fallen leaves. Looking at the system prompt sound, Kuruda's smile was so bright. Congratulations on getting 1,100 reputation points from Navy Marshal Sengoku. Congratulations on getting 1,000 reputation points from Navy Chief of Staff Crane. Congratulations on getting 500 reputation points from Navy Hero Garp. Congratulations on getting 850, 900, and 800 reputation points from Navy Admirals Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru respectively. Congratulations on getting 300 reputation points from Navy Candidate Admirals Momozabuchi and Chaton. Congratulations on getting, from Navy Vice Admiral. Now looking at the reputation value column of the system panel in my mind, it has increased by thousands and hundreds, and it is very fast. Now the reputation value has reached about 105,000. Very good, very good. In a few days, at this rate, we can conservatively estimate that we will have 250,000. Kuruda said with a smile. Then we can buy the 2 new partners and the props that help them improve their training speed. After saying this, Kuruda continued to bask in the sun. The partners on the ship were basically busy with their own things. Kuruda is enjoying the peaceful time now. Of course, it is also good to have pirates or Navy officers who are not good at remembering or looking for death come to get beaten, which can be regarded as bringing some fun to the peaceful and boring life. As navigators, the 2 sisters have to confirm the direction every once in a while, and after the ocean currents and weather changes at sea, they can do what they like, but they must be prepared to face emergencies at any time. As a chef, Alan is also trying to cook new dishes in the kitchen. As a chef who loves food, research is naturally indispensable. As for Sid and Ariel, as the helmsman, Ariel has finally started to steer the ship. Cooperating with the 2 sisters, she is worthy of the knowledge provided by the system. In the entire pirate world, Ariel is now a top helmsman. Of course, don't forget that this is just an emergency. Normally, you just need to confirm it and turn it to automatic driving. So now Ariel is playing chess with Sid. Checkmate. Then Sid put the chess piece in the corresponding position, and then looked at Ariel, who was a little dumbfounded, with a smug smile. Queen, you lost. Sid smiled. Ah, this game doesn't count, let's play another game. Ariel said, a little annoyed. As a patient with the 2nd-year disease, she seems to be a little sick now. But with her extremely fast hand speed, the original losing game has turned from the chessboard to the beginning. Red first, Sid said very gentlemanly, smiling on the surface, sneering in his heart. If I can't beat you, can't I beat you with these little things? Although my chess skills are not very good, I am better than you, a stupid woman with strong limbs and simple mind. Kuruda naturally saw this scene, smiled and didn't say much. He naturally knew what Sid was thinking, but he believed that this was only temporary. When Ariel's chess skills improved, Sid probably wouldn't smile like today. Don't underestimate Ariel's learning talent. So let him be proud for a while. After a while, he saw the ghost ninjas move out all the tables and chairs, and some delicious dishes that looked like they were prepared by Alan. Looking at the bright sun above his head, he found that it was indeed almost time for dinner. He had specifically told Alan a few days ago that as long as the weather was good, lunch would basically be eaten outside. So at this time, the ghost ninjas put the scene where all the chairs and delicacies were brought out. Hey, sister, it looks like we're about to eat. The 2 sisters Lucy and Luke, who were playing on the side, naturally smelled the fragrance, and Luke blinked her bright eyes and said, "Little greedy cat, wait a little longer, wait until brother Alan brings out the last dish and says it's time to eat, then we can go eat." Lucy said with a smile. "I know, sister, why do you have to mention it more?" Luke pouted cutely. Soon, Alan finally brought out the last dish, and after saying that it was time to eat, everyone gathered around the table to eat lunch. "Everyone, enjoy it, today it's all the specialties of the 7-Water City," Alan said with a smile. At the same time, everyone also stretched out their chopsticks and put the delicacies into their mouths. After eating, they also showed happy smiles and praised the deliciousness. Seeing them all like this, Alan, as a chef, was also very happy. But Kuruda, who was still eating, suddenly found that it was the same seagull that delivered the newspaper, flying towards this side. Is there any news recently? Everyone followed Kuruda's gaze and naturally saw the seagull, Luke said in surprise. But at this time, Kuruda had guessed something. He immediately smiled and took out a full 10 Baileys from it and threw them over. Seeing that the big boss was so generous, the seagull did not do much, and directly handed over their bounty, which was issued by the Navy a few hours ago. Although it was the headquarters, the Navy was spread all over the world after all, and for such things, the Navy would still ask Morgans for help. With the combined efforts of the two strongest intelligence organizations on the sea would not take long to spread the news. Especially this seagull, it was Morgans, who was specially used to serve the fallen pirates, so when the Navy handed him the bounty, it specially asked the employees in the East China Sea to print a copy and let the seagull hand it over to the fallen pirates. The fallen pirates provided him with big news, so he naturally had to help. Moreover, if so, he might be able to take pictures and write more big news about the fallen pirates. It's our bounty indeed. Kuruda smiled happily when he saw the bounty order paper that he had often seen at sea in his memory, and his photo on it. The Navy finally suffered 2 losses and knew their threats, and issued a bounty, and it was surprisingly not low. Everyone became interested when they heard this, and they all expressed their desire to see their own bounties. Kuruda also picked out their bounties and handed them to them. At the same time, he focused on his bounty order and the bounty amount. Captain Kuruda, the Evil One, bounty of 350 million Baileys. Evil One, that's the title the Navy gave me. After I talked about my ideas and goals last time, plus the strength we have shown, I really appreciate you looking up to me and giving me such a title. You guys actually gave me this name, so I will be sorry for the title you gave me if I don't do something big in the future. Kuruda smiled and said, his dream is to become a big bad guy in such a world, and the title of the Evil One is really suitable for him. At the same time, he has already thought of many extremely bad ideas. That's what they are going to do next. Give me 350 million for the first bounty. Well, that's also good. For such a first bounty amount, he can reach 300 million, which he also thinks is very reasonable. Because let's not talk about it, this is in line with the total amount of his first bounty as a big bad guy, and they have now spread their influence and strength. As a captain, he can have such a bounty, and he is naturally very satisfied. And the photo is also normal, at least much stronger than Sanji. How are you guys? After being very satisfied with himself, he also asked the others. First, it was Sid who expressed his opinion. Judging from his expression when he looked at the bounty order, he was very happy, and he was probably very satisfied with it. Sid turned his bounty order over so that everyone could see the front, and said, I think it's all good. After seeing it, Kuruda and others also nodded. Swordsman, Shadow Swordsman, Sid Kaganor, bounty of 240 million Baileys. The photo shows him casually slashing a sword, wearing a slime battle suit, very handsome and domineering. Me too, but I'm a little taller than you. Ariel was very surprised, and then said proudly. What? Hearing that Ariel's bounty seemed to be higher than his own, Sid, who was originally smiling with satisfaction, suddenly became uncalm, so turning his head, he saw Ariel turning her bounty upside down for everyone to see. Helmsman, Spider Witch, Ariel, bounty 280 million Baileys. Everyone else congratulated him, but Sid was almost vomiting blood. He was 40 million Baileys higher than him. Shouldn't he be the brightest one besides Kuruda? Ariel is stronger than you, so it's reasonable that her bounty is 40 million Baileys higher than yours. At this time, Kurula didn't even comfort him, but mocked him again, but this is also the truth. After all, they all had Garp's evaluation, and their physical skills surpassed him, and Aokiji was just injured by Sid. Hearing Kuruda's words, Sid seemed to feel as if he had been pierced by thousands of arrows, but this was the truth. He could no longer pretend to smile, but lowered his head with a grim expression. Sid was a very strong person. He was just one step ahead of Ariel, who came 2 days later than him, but his influence on the world was already less than Ariel, which made him feel unwilling. At this time, even Alan and the 2 sisters next to him didn't know how to comfort him. But Ariel saw him like this and smiled and said, "Just work harder in the future, young man." In terms of age, even if Sid was a human in 2 lives, he was completely younger than Ariel. But Ariel usually looked careless and cute, but Sid didn't think so. "What young man, you cute ghost." Sid's eyes flashed purple light in anger, and suddenly, she and Ariel used instant teleportation and disappeared. With a bang, Kuruda and the other 4 looked over and found that Sid and Ariel had already started fighting in the sky. "Oh my, don't be so irritable," Ariel said with some surprise and fear, but it seemed a bit fake. Once again, she blocked Sid's sword with one hand, and then with the other hand, Ariel used the armament haki she had cultivated not long ago, and then punched Sid. But Sid also used a crowbar and added armament haki to block it. Ariel also noticed Sid's progress, and her heart was suddenly shocked. He was worthy of being a strong man who could be summoned from another world by Kuruda. But Sid actually felt the same way. Ariel was really hard to deal with. The 2 of them soon fought together. Sid was not so embarrassed to deal with Ariel this time. He played his own advantages and could fight Ariel back and forth, 40 to 60. "Brother Ku, don't we need to stop them?" Lucy said with some worry. "It's okay, let them continue to fight, they are just sparring normally, they won't fight to the extreme. By the way, Xiaoxi, how about your and Xiaokei's bounties?" Kuruda said immediately, first saying that he didn't care about the fight between Sid and Ariel, and at the same time he asked the 2 sisters to talk about their bounties. "Okay." After Lucy agreed, she directly spread out her bounty, and Luke followed closely. Navigator, Golden Twins, Lucy, 87 million Baileys. Navigator, Purple Twins, Luke, 84 million Baileys. The photos of the 2 sisters were also normal, and the 2 sisters also expressed their satisfaction with the titles given by the Navy, including the bounty. After all, they originally estimated that their first time would be at least 40 million Baileys. Although their fruit abilities have been announced, they are still at the level of admiral candidates. Now, the bounty has doubled in their estimation, and they are already very satisfied and happy. "As long as you are satisfied, Alan, what about you?" Kuruda said to the 2 sisters with a smile, and then immediately looked at Alan and asked. Alan also turned his bounty over to show everyone. "Chef, gluttonous fat chef, Alan, bounty of 93 million Baileys. Haha, I am also very satisfied, especially this is a title, I like it, next time I face the Navy, maybe I can consider a little less power." Alan laughed, but it was obvious that he was also very satisfied. Seeing that everyone was basically satisfied with their bounties, Kuruda was relieved. Next, Sid and Ariel did stop fighting after a while, but when they returned to the bowl, Sid packed some food from the table and walked directly back to the cabin. But before leaving, he still explained it, otherwise, his companions would look at him in confusion. "I have to practice in the afternoon, so I will go back to the room first. If there is any emergency, I will be there first. I will bring some lunch back for you." After saying that, Sid went straight back to the cabin. When he saw Ariel smiling and returning to the table to enjoy the food, the 4 people present were not stupid. They immediately understood that Sid had lost again. His previous behavior was completely out of anger. Kuruda and the others felt both funny and helpless, because Sid's performance was really funny just now. The helplessness was naturally because as a man, he actually lost to the same woman twice. But only Kuruda himself knew that as the first companion to come, Sid was indeed the most likely to catch up with Ariel. And they were all summoned by the system through a function, so he speculated that the strength of these 12 summoned characters was basically the same. Although their strengths vary, their growth ceilings and talents are basically the same in the pirate world. Soon, after everyone had lunch, Kuruda suggested that everyone go back to their rooms to rest, and everyone did as they were told, and everyone returned to their rooms. However, before leaving, Alan asked the Ghost Corps to clean up the dishes and tables. The Ghost Corps is really hardworking and can accomplish everything well. After returning to his room, Kuruda laughed immediately, because he suddenly thought that since their bounty order has been issued, many people on the sea will probably generate a wave of reputation for him again because of their bounty order. Haha, maybe the result after this wave of leaks is cut will exceed my imagination. Kuruda laughed immediately. He was in a very good mood and immediately took a sweet nap. Time passed like this, day after day, and the bull was still moving towards the West Zyo Village at a slightly slow speed. However, just as he thought, the sea was shocked again because of the bounty of the fallen pirates. Because they never thought that the Navy would actually offer such a high price, but thinking of the Navy's 2 consecutive failures, and thinking of the fallen pirates, the strength now exposed, the strength of each person seems to be worthy of this bounty. Many people's emotions are basically surprised, shocked, and amazed, but those pirates whose strength is basically more than 10 million but whose brains are not very good still think that this amount is just a vain show. After all, the Navy issued a bounty mainly to see what kind of threat they pose to the Navy and the world government, not just to see their strength. In their arrogant thoughts, the fallen pirates are this kind of group, especially those bounty hunters who think they are very strong, and they also issued a declaration that if they encounter the fallen pirates, they must take them all down. These people have read newspapers and the like, but they almost think that this is the Navy playing a joke with the fallen pirates and not doing their best. But if they were at the scene, they would not think so, and those who will really encounter the fallen pirates in the future will lose everything, even their lives, because of their arrogance. But how can this be called emotion? Emotions will generate reputation points. These people still contributed their own efforts, a small and meager effort, to Kuruda's future strength. On a brand new day, oh, no, or this day is almost over, because it is now the night of this day. Still in his bedroom, Kuruda was reading a newspaper. Kuruda was very satisfied with the report on it, and it was written on it. The pirate buggy with a bounty of 10 million in the East China Sea, the current overlord of Orange Town, was defeated by Straw Hat Luffy and pirate hunter Zoro yesterday. The little thief Cat Nami is suspected to have joined the Straw Hat Pirates. Seeing the situation over there, it was basically the same as the original picture. The original work should not have been affected. Kuruda was very satisfied. At the same time, he also knew that Lucy had said before that they would arrive in the morning in 2 days. Although he didn't know how long it would take Luffy and his friends to arrive at Zyo Village, they would probably leave by themselves when Luffy and his friends arrived. That's good. I didn't plan to meet here, Kuruda said as he put the newspaper aside and immediately opened the system panel. He wanted to see how much his reputation had reached. It was only 2 days, and it was time for him to spend some reputation. Add some strength to the whole group. Thinking of this, Kuruda suddenly remembered what he had talked about with Ariel before. Basically, many people in their group now have weapons, but only Ariane doesn't have one, so he once looked for Ariel and asked if he wanted him to buy a weapon for her in his system mall. But Ariel refused, because she preferred physical combat, although she would use magic to attack remotely or weaken the enemy in the future, and the Demon King suit she was wearing was not simple, and its own value was a weapon. It was the silk she spit out when she was a spider, plus some special materials, and was made by the top craftsman of the Demon Clan. It itself brought her a great increase, not to mention that now there are 6 winged purple wings, which can also bring her an increase. Forget it, Ariel really doesn't need to buy weapons. Let's take a look at the reputation value first. Thinking of this, Kuruda immediately gave up the idea of helping Ariel buy weapons. Then he looked at the reputation column, and suddenly, he was stunned, and then he was overjoyed, because it was clearly written behind the reputation value. 347,000. Haha, great, it's over 300,000, I can buy a lot of things now. Kuruda laughed. Obviously, the reputation value of more than 300,000 has almost made him excited. But suddenly he thought of something important to do, so he immediately told the system. System, you must know what I thought before, I just want to ask you, is there such a thing in the system mall? Yes, but it's very expensive, at least 120,000 reputation points are required. The system quickly gave him a reply. Kuruda took a breath of cold air immediately, actually directly asking for 120,000, which is more than the reputation points of a powerful villain who was summoned. System, can you ensure that the money is worth it? Even Kuruda now had some distrust in his heart. After all, there were too many. Although he wanted to buy such items, 120,000 reputation points was already the most expensive thing he could buy now. The system does business, and it is honest and fair, and it absolutely meets any requirements of speed. The system seemed to have a soul, and knew that it was speaking like a soul, and immediately said it with assurance and firmness. From the tone, Kuruda could easily hear it. Then system, take it out and have a look. Kuruda also immediately had a new trust in his system. After all, it was said that it was a mule or a horse. Whether it could run 1,000 miles a day or not, it had to be pulled out for a walk. Please take a look, host. Soon, the system said, while releasing a panel with a long paragraph and a picture of a machine. Time training space. A special space is opened through a special instrument. The time flow rate inside will be different from that outside. 1 day outside is 1 month inside. It can accommodate 20 people at a time, but even if 2 people enter at the same time, the space will be used separately by 2 people, which is equivalent to an internet cafe. 2 people enter at the same time, using different computers and playing different games. It will meet the shortcomings and needs of the lighting users. Formulate training plans, provide virtual opponents, etc. In short, practicing here can greatly enhance strength and combat effectiveness. Hearing this, Kuruda's eyes suddenly lit up. Isn't this what he needs? And it can be related to time and space. No wonder it is so expensive. He estimated that such an item, or high tech, is indeed a little more expensive than a powerful villain from another world. It is indeed worth the money. Thinking of this, 120,000 is 120,000. They really need it now. Kuruda also gritted his teeth and said immediately, "System, this is it, just deduct the reputation value directly." Ding, the host's reputation value of 120,000 has been automatically deducted, and there are 217,000 reputation values left. The system quickly made a sound, and at the same time, the reputation value on Kuruda's panel was deducted. In front of him, in his room, an instrument suddenly appeared. But Kuruda understood that this was the instrument that could open the space-time training space. As long as the button on it was clicked, the energy gate could be released to let the trainer in. Only after the trainer came out would it be automatically closed. However, Kuruda did not take care of this instrument at the first time. After all, the key now was to spend reputation value in exchange for strength. So next, whether he searched by himself or asked the system to help him find it, Kuruda was busy in the system. Space storage ball can be freely enlarged or reduced, with a large space inside. There is a huge space of 10 cubic meters inside, which can store any items freely. Just press the button on the ball to put the item in. When taking it out, just click the button and imagine the item. Long press the button to directly release all the items inside. 250 reputation points for 1. Small wireless call headset. Worn in the ear, it will not damage the ear. The person wearing the headset will establish a special channel and can chat at any time. 100 reputation points for 1. Kuruda quickly took a fancy to these 2 things, because it is really important for their current team communication and storage items to carry with them, and the price is also cheap, so Kuruda quickly started to buy them, and bought a lot. At least there are 6 of them now, and each person must have 1. Wait a minute, there are 2 new partners coming soon. Ding, you have purchased 8 space storage balls and 8 small wireless call headsets. A total of 2,800 points are consumed. The headset and storage ball appeared, and Kuruda temporarily put them on the table and waited to distribute them tomorrow. Then the skeleton thought that the Ghost Corps should be supplemented, so he bought the tokens of the Night Bat Corps, the only air combat unit with flying ability, and the Alien Corps with underwater combat ability. He spent 7,700 reputation points again. After getting the token, Kuruda also summoned these 2 types of soldiers. The Alien Corps soldiers, who look like a combination of snakes and octopuses, can stretch and elongate their bodies like taffy, have exaggerated elastic deformation ability, and can even lift giant objects easily. With extremely high speed, the light waves emitted from the palm can turn giant bones into slag, and the light waves can also become light ropes to bind opponents. The Night Bat Corps soldiers are excellent in long-range attack, close combat, and speed, but their defense is slightly inferior. In fact, Kuruda bought the Night Bat Corps and the Alien Corps not only because of their air and water combat capabilities, but also for to increase intelligence capabilities. After all, the soldiers of the Ghost Corps can shuttle in the shadows. It is not good to only let King Air and Latora. The Ghost Corps can greatly enhance the range. As for the monsters, he will not buy them now, because they are enough for now. However, as far as it is concerned, he has spent so much reputation points now, and excluding the need to summon 2 new partners, there are still 6,500 reputation points left. It is really difficult to make money, but easy to spend money. Looking at the remaining reputation points, Kuruda smiled bitterly and shook his head. But then again, the entertainment facilities on the bowl do seem to be a little less. Kuruda immediately thought of this. So he bought some large game consoles next, and bought some of the mobile games he played before, such as birds shot out with slingshots, battles between flowers and zombies, and table tennis, billiards and the like. In this way, another 1,500 reputation points were spent. Kuruda decided not to buy any more, and 5,000 reputation points were left. He was about to start summoning new partners, and suddenly he remembered what he had promised Ariel and Sid before, that they must be present when he summoned the new partners. And if there are any good things, don't forget them. This is also the reason why Sid and Ariel suddenly turned back last time. Since new partners are to be summoned, call them over to witness together, after all, it is agreed. As for the good things, it can be explained by dividing the ones bought before. However, in order to avoid disturbing the rest of Alan and the 2 sisters, Kuruda asked the system to take action. After all, it was a summoned partner. Soon after, with the help of the system, the 2 quickly came to Kuruda's room directly through teleportation. Oh, I can finally witness the arrival of a new partner. As a demon king, I am very happy and excited. Ariel smiled. Although I am also looking forward to it, can you not be so second-rate? Sid said with some contempt and stinginess. I'm a middle school student, so are you considered a pretentious paranoid patient? Ariel pouted and said unhappily. I'm making everyone feel shocked by my behavior. Sid immediately emphasized himself. In response, Ariel just said haha, which almost made Sid angry. Okay, you guys should be more careful, I'm going to summon new partners. Kuruda smiled bitterly and dissuaded helplessly. He was a little confused. These 2 people from different worlds, and their behaviors were basically the same, why did they always quarrel? Forget it, as long as they don't fight or fight too much, it's fine, and it's still fun to do so. At least as a spectator, he enjoyed it very much. Hearing Kuruda stand up and speak, Sid could only take a last look at Ariel and turned away unhappily. But at the same time, the 2 of them were basically thinking. Sid, just wait and see, Chunabu, I will get back at you sooner or later. Ariel, what a joke, I'm the queen, but I can't deal with a pretentious person like you. After shaking his head, Kuruda started to summon directly. As the 100,000 reputation points were consumed, the space channel leading to the other world was opened again. Kuruda planned to recruit a shipwright first. In simple terms, he was specialized in repairing and maintaining ships, that is, he could repair a lot of things, but with the effect of the system, the person who came would not only be able to do these, but also be a strong man. At this time, on the other side of the channel, there was no light, it was a completely dark space. The only thing that could bring a little light was that there were many special colorless flames in this space, burning very fragilely. This familiar step, it is obvious that this is another dead space in another world. Obviously, the strong man who is about to be summoned to the pirate world will also be resurrected. Well, am I awake again? Haven't I died of old age? Why is it so dark around here? It was still the familiar formula. As a beam of light from the space channel hit a flame, the soul in the flame was awakened. The system also quickly gave the corresponding situation and knowledge to the soul flame. This really shocked me, summoning the strong from all realms to another world, but I am only very powerful in the game, and I am just an ordinary person in reality. After crossing over, do I appear as a character in the game? As long as I have a thought, I can use my body again, but the price is that I have to become the partner of the person who summoned me. Thinking of so much, the soul fire was silent for a moment, as if thinking. Oh, I want to what? This is a rare opportunity, so hurry up and experience the new world life, it's better than continuing to sleep here. Quote. And as it has agreed, the system also pulled the soul fire into the space channel. The familiar power was still injected into the soul flame, and the flame slowly dissipated, replaced by a brand new figure, who looked very young and cute, lacking Ariel's handsomeness and domineering. Black mushroom-shaped short hair, plus a pair of beautiful black eyes, the skin looks very white, wearing red stripes and black armor, as well as similar battle robes, combat boots and battle skirts. A black short knife appeared in his hand and a large black square shield on his right hand. But you can't tell from her figure and appearance that she is completely a woman. Judging from her age, she should be in the teenage to young adult stage. Cute and beautiful, wearing this black armor, she reveals a bit of handsomeness and domineering, and looks very cool. At this time, seeing the familiar weapon in his hand, he didn't know how many years it had been. Even after he was old, he had never touched this game again, and never entered it again. Suddenly seeing his white skin arm, the beauty seemed to think of something, and said in shock, "Could it be that I have not only been resurrected and have the strength in the game, but also restored my appearance when I was young?" Thinking of this, the beauty was so excited. After all, he can now be said to be rejuvenated and returned to her happiest time. However, looking around, there are space channels, and there is no mirror at all. The originally excited mood suddenly fell, and he shook his head. He could only look forward to looking in the mirror as soon as possible after passing by to see if he has really turned back to his youth. Well, there is light, it seems to be the exit. Seeing that it seemed to have reached the end, the beauty also understood that she was about to reach another world, as long as she passed through. What will the new world, new adventure, and new life be like? I am really looking forward to it, but it would be great if Sally and Shaw could come too. Obviously, the beauty was still looking forward to the new life, but at the same time, she also thought of her former partners, and her original excitement and happiness were slightly lost. However, when she thought about meeting her new partner in the past, that is, the person who summoned her, she immediately cheered up. After all, the first impression she gave people couldn't be bad. She already had a good impression of this strong man who resurrected her, made her seem to return to youth, and gave her a new life. As the light in front of her eyes shone like the sun approaching, she immediately closed her eyes, and she knew that she had arrived. At the same time, in Kuruda's room, he, Ariel, and Sid just looked at the space transmission channel. "Does it take so long?" But seeing that no one had come yet, Sid said impatiently. Could it be? Ariel thought of the situation when she came, and wondered if this new partner was also like this. "Well, could it be that he is also resurrected from the dead like you?" Sid said to her in surprise. They had talked privately, and he was naturally very clear that different summoned characters would probably be different when they came. There were resurrected dead like Ariel, and there were still alive like him. Seeing Ariel's expression, he obviously suspected that this new partner was actually in the same situation as Ariel. Ariel didn't say anything, but just nodded. "It should be like this, here it comes." Kuruda currently thinks so, but as soon as he finished this sentence, he found that the new partner had already arrived. Oh, Ariel and Sid also looked over immediately, and the new partner finally came. The space transmission channel finally responded. The beauty finally came. First, she stepped out with her combat boots, followed by her hands holding a short knife and a large shield. She stretched out her head, and at the moment she stretched out her eyes, she suddenly opened her eyes, and then she came here. A woman. But seeing her, this was Ariel and Sid's first reaction, but soon they frowned, because they did not feel the breath of a strong person, or special energy fluctuations, from this beauty. But then they thought that the person summoned by Kuruda must be a strong person. Suddenly, they seemed to think of something, and they were shocked and looked at this new partner carefully. Could it be that the beauty in front of them actually had the ability to hide her own strong information and look like an ordinary person? The beauty in front of them actually looked innocent and cute, but in fact she was a pig pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger. But they saw this beauty for the first time, and they were not familiar with her and naturally did not understand her. But as Kuruda, who had read countless comics, naturally recognized this beauty at the first time. This is exactly the same cute image, appearance, and equipment as in the impression. Kurudado couldn't help blinking several times. He never thought that he would summon this person. But he quickly asked the system in his mind, "System, I asked you to summon the shipwright, why did you summon Maple? Can Maple repair it?" Yes, the beautiful woman in black armor in front of him is the four great Feng Aocean in the comics. Maple is one of the most popular characters in the game. She is even called the Shield Girl by many fans. She is the heroine of the Sakura manga. Because I'm too afraid of pain, I put all my points into defense. Maple lacks general game knowledge and puts all her points into defense. She moves slowly and can't use magic, so she can't even play with rabbits. She is a curious type. She started playing games after being recommended by a friend. Because she was afraid of pain, she maxed out her defense and chose the unpopular Shield Master. The rest is basically a story of cheating all the way, otherwise how could she be called Feng Aoshin? But at this time, Kuruda really wanted to ask the system, oh no, I've already asked, what is the relationship between Maple and the shipwright? Why doesn't the host open Maple's panel first? But the system answered like this. Kuruda was stunned. What? There is a surprise hidden in it. Well, since you said so, I'll take a look. So Kuruda immediately used the analysis function and opened Maple's panel. Name: Maple. Age: 17 years old, currently after rebirth. Gender: female. Introduction: a top strongman from the world where, because I am too afraid of pain, I put all my points on defense. Innocent and cute, but also very talented in fighting, like a natural warrior, kind to others, and easy to get along with. Abilities: real-world learning, advanced fighting ability, short sword and large shield use technology, top ship repair master, virtual game world ability, game skills, including special forms, passive skills and attack skills. Current strength: general level. Weapons: Shadow of the Dark Knight shield, Black Rose armor, armor crescent dagger, Queen Bee ring, Snow White shield, strong ring, Ghost Girl's dress. Reward amount: none. Reward title: none. It must be said that Maple's panel is really luxurious, especially the weapons column. In addition to the armor and a dagger she is wearing now, a shield, there are 2 rings that can be used for amplification and a dress. But at the same time, he also understood why Maple was summoned here, because to put it simply, Maple is actually just an ordinary person. Her strength is in the game, but in the real world, she still has to life. Plus, if the Maple in front of him was actually reborn after death, then let's not talk about playing games. If the use of physical skills and weapons is practiced, in the real world, Maple's profession is originally a top ship repair master. Such reasons are consistent with his previous description, plus the system can bring Maple's power in the game to her, which is also considered a strong person. But system, is there any connection between Maple and the villain? But suddenly, Kuruda thought of a new question and asked immediately. In that world's game, Maple has been a veteran player for at least 10 years. 10 years, from the beginning at that time, coupled with her reputation as Feng Aoshin, even as a partner, do you know how much Maple is in those people's impressions? She is simply a mountain that suppresses them, a female devil who can't see any hope. Isn't it unreasonable to call her a villain? Quote. The system quickly gave an answer. Seeing this paragraph, Kuruda thought about it and it seemed to be true. However, after asking the question, looking at Maple in front of him, Kuruda was also very satisfied in his heart, especially the opponent's abnormal defense, various special and powerful attack skills and passive skills, tyranny and mechanical god. He thought this should be the strongest fire among the partners, force output plus the strongest defense. But no matter what, he still welcomes Maple's arrival. At this time, Maple finally came back to her senses, looking at the 3 people in front of her, especially Kuruda standing in the center, she immediately said. Excuse me, are you the one who summoned me and gave me new life and youth again? Yes, my name is Kuruda. Kuruda smiled and introduced himself, and there was a lot of information. Then it was Sid and Ariel's turn to introduce themselves, after all, they were all summoned villains. Not long after, Maple finally knew the ins and outs of the matter. However, because it was late at night, Kuruda and the others did not tell her about many things on the bowl. They had to wait until they were completely on board and introduced them in detail after Alan and the 2 sisters met. But Maple now has a general understanding. He nodded suddenly with enlightenment. It turned out to be such a world. Compared with his original world, it was much worse and much worse. Even compared to the game world, it's not good. However, after hearing that not only do I have to repeat it here, a new happy life, and also to save such a world, Maple immediately became interested. After all, happy fighting and life are what she wants. Thinking of this, she immediately said, apply to board the ship, Captain Kuruda, I am a warrior and shipwright. Obviously, unlike Sid, but probably similar to Ariel's idea, Maple is also willing to join Kuruda's pirate group directly. willing to be their partner. And because of Ariel's previous experience, plus he knew that Maple was indeed a little naive in her thoughts. Of course, the most important thing is that the system has already sounded a prompt. Congratulations to the host for getting Maple's recognition. 100% loyalty has been activated. Don't worry about being betrayed by her. Please experience a wonderful adventure with the summoned villain. Chapter 71. But no matter what, Maple has recognized him now, and her loyalty is beyond doubt. At least she will not betray him in the future. Although he also accepts anyone who comes to Sid, it is best to keep it simple. However, for now, among the three partners, Sid is relatively rational, and the emphasis is still on one word, strength. Ariel and Maple are relatively emotional, or perhaps because the three of them came in different ways. Ariel and Maple were basically resurrected from the dead space in the original world by him through the system summons. The rebirth and resurrection have made them grateful to him, and he thinks that the system should have said something over there, so Sid is just a little bit like a 1,000-mile horse that is difficult to tame. But now, no matter what, Maple has recognized him, and Kuruda is still very happy. But Maple still has to act like Sid and Ariel before, in front of Alan and the two sisters, as well as in front of the media and those who have been paying attention to them, and act well. Maple, please stand over there first. After all, I don't have any extra space here. I'm going to summon the next partner first, and then talk to you all. Kuruda said immediately. Okay. Through the previous chat, Maple also knew the situation here, especially on this ship. She knew that she would have to act with another partner next, and now her captain seemed to want to summon a new partner, so she immediately walked aside. Curious and proud Ariel came directly to her side, and the two of them immediately started chatting. After all, they were both beautiful and a little cute women, and their personalities were similar, so they naturally chatted. As for Sid, Maple took the initiative to talk to him, and he could also chat for a few words. After all, he was not a social phobic. But he was already wailing in his heart, why is it this kind of cute female character again? Alas, I hope the next partner who is summoned will not be like this, at least it will be a male who can chat with him. At the same time, Kuruda also consumed 100,000 reputation points again. There was only the lonely 5,000 left in the reputation wallet. At the same time, a new space transmission channel had been opened. At this time, in another world that had been connected. The weather looked very bad, with dark clouds, and below was a dark and strange forest, with bats flying, beasts and poisonous insects constantly calling, full of gloomy atmosphere. But suddenly, a wolf came over, and seemed to be a little depressed and lost. Don't ask why a wolf would have such emotions, that's because this is not an ordinary wolf at all. Have you ever seen a wolf walk upright? Although it looks like a wolf, its body shape is very human. And he wore a patched sweet potato hat on his head, a yellow scarf around his neck, and a pair of purple denim shorts. The scar on his face and the exposed fangs were full of wildness. If Kuruda was here, he would definitely recognize that this was the villain Grey Wolf in Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf, one of the three major domestic cartoon giants in his previous life. He is also a character that Kuruda likes very much. Except for not being able to catch sheep, he is basically the smartest person in the cartoon and one of the most powerful scientists. He has an indomitable spirit and a spirit of getting stronger with more setbacks. He never backs down in the face of difficulties and can immediately face them with a positive and optimistic attitude. He attaches great importance to family affection and is very good to his wife and son. He can work in the laboratory and in the kitchen. He is hardworking, kind, brave, warm and enthusiastic. He can be called a perfect male wolf. However, the current Grey Wolf is indeed full of anger and loss both in his emotions and on the surface. He is completely in a state of failure. Not only did I not catch the sheep today, but I was also beaten and humiliated by Pleasant Goat and others. How can I explain to my wife and son when I go back? Grey Wolf said a little discouraged as he looked at the wolf castle getting closer and closer. His wife has been with him on the green grassland for several years, at least 10 years. After they got married, there were also a few days when he didn't let his wife eat a bite of mutton. You know, this is his wife's biggest wish, and as a wolf, he should fulfill his wife's wish as a husband. His son has been born for several years, and he has not let his son taste a bite of mutton until now. To be honest, even he can't remember the taste of mutton. He only remembers eating it once when he was a child. I am indeed a failed wolf, a failed father and husband. Although he has an indomitable spirit, but when he thought of his son and wife suffering with him, he felt bad. Grey Wolf clenched his fists, closed his eyes and shed hot tears, and said with gritted teeth. But suddenly, a space transmission channel appeared in front of him, which scared him. What is this? Grey Wolf said with wide eyes, fearful and curious at the same time. But soon, a voice suddenly appeared in his mind. If he wanted his wife and son to live a good life, at least they could eat mutton, and he could also eat mutton. He would go to see the person behind the channel and discuss with him. He would definitely be able to get the mutton back, but at the same time he would have to pay a little price. What kind of technology is this, or is there really an inexplicable power in this world? Is there a space transmission channel in front of me? Although he didn't know where this sentence came from, Grey Wolf was already surprised, and he showed an incredible look and knew that what appeared in front of him was a space channel that could go to another place. Originally, he still didn't believe the words that suddenly appeared in his mind, but since the space channel appeared, what was there to disbelieve? And as long as he could live a good life and let his wife and son finally eat a bite of mutton, no matter what the price, he, Grey Wolf, could accept it. Rather than returning empty-handed and facing the disappointed expressions of his wife and son, it would be better to go to the place behind the space channel and fight. Thinking of this, Grey Wolf, who was completely determined, walked directly into the channel. Although he didn't know how long it would take and how long Hong Hong and his son would have to wait, as long as he could bring the mutton back, everything would be worth it. Soon, as Grey Wolf approached, the space channel was completely closed, but it was only temporary, yes, temporary. Because at this time, while waiting, Kuruda also heard the voice of the system. Host, there is something I want to tell you, that is, as long as the host successfully summons 3 characters and is recognized, the new 10,000 world summoning related functions will be unlocked. Kuruda heard this and greeted the system in his heart. Didn't it say that there was no function? What is this? But he was also directly told by the system that this was newly unlocked and the system had just thought of it. This sentence was retorted and Kuruda was speechless. There was no way. After all, it was a new addition, just like in his previous life. Huawei finally released a new mobile phone, and he could buy it immediately after accepting it. System, tell me. Kuruda could only say this now, but it was obvious that he was a little helpless because of the system. That is, if your partner wants, he can actually go back to the original world at any time. At the same time, the time flow rate of the 2 worlds is the same, but they still have to be active in the pirate world. Going back to the original world, it can't exceed 3 days at most, but at the same time, no matter how long they stay there, it takes at least 9 days of cooling time here. At the same time, they can also bring back the power they get in the pirate world or from the system. After hearing this, Kuruda immediately understood and glanced at the 3 partners behind him. I believe that after they know this function, even Ariel and Maple, who have no attachment to the original world, especially the latter, after all, according to what she said. Those companions died even earlier than her. In the world over there, Maple has lost a lot of things as time passes and she ages. But after all, it is the previous world where they have stayed for a long time, and Ariel and Maple probably still want to go back and take a look. As for Sid, he probably also wants to go back and see the shadow courtyard he built with his own hands. After all, he didn't explain it when he left. And he actually opened such a new function now. He guessed that the situation of this new 4th companion in the original world was a bit special. It seems that he has something to talk about next. Someone is coming. Sid's eyes lit up and he said immediately. Kuruda and the other 2 also looked over, and then in their blinking eyes, a wolf walking upright came out. At least Sid, Ariel and Maple thought so, and what appeared in front of them was a wolf that could walk upright. But Calabash Brothers was indeed confused again. After all, he had recognized him. Nonsense, born in such a great country, how could he not recognize the villain protagonist from one of the 3 animation giants of this country? Grey Wolf. Kuruda directly read out the name of Grey Wolf who had already arrived here. But at the same time, he thought, whether he is the scientist or the villain he wants, this guy really fits the bill. Although he is not a villain in the true sense, in a sense, he is just a devoted husband and father to his family, but his reputation is really terrifying in his original past life. He is also his favorite one. Just like a song in his past life, if you want to marry, marry Big Grey Wolf. Kuruda is very happy now, and it is Big Grey Wolf who has come, but he just doesn't know which time Big Grey Wolf is from. The most important thing is whether it is before or after the peace between the wolf and the sheep. After all, before the peace between the wolf and the sheep, Big Grey Wolf and Pleasant Goat were enemies, but after the peace between the wolf and the sheep, they are very good friends. These 2 points are actually very important. It's mainly Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf, around this period. In addition to having superpowers, Big Wolf's strength is mainly due to his brain and technology. Later, Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf changed its director and sold the copyright. In addition to the original technology style, it is also more inclined to fighting and superpowers. Especially after the Guardian series began, the strange power of the Strange Cat Kingdom and the power of the Brave in the Four Seasons City, Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf are a bit inclined to superpowers and magic. In short, basically all styles are followed. Kuruda doesn't know which period the current Big Wolf belongs to, whether it is the early technology that is respected, or the later superpowers and magic that are king. Well, are you the one who summoned me here? And you are. After opening his eyes, Big Wolf also saw Kuruda and the others. Seeing that they were actually humans, Big Wolf, who had a little knowledge of humans, was still very surprised. However, his somewhat surprised expression was naturally seen by Kuruda. Thinking of the 2 movies related to humans in the Grey Wolf series, Kuruda immediately understood that the Grey Wolf in front of him had experienced these 2 movies, so he knew humans. It was indeed me who summoned you. My name is Kuruda, and I also came here from another world. Kuruda, after thinking about it, immediately answered Grey Wolf's question. After the pirate driver told them about their current situation, Maple, Sid and Ariel also introduced themselves. Through their introduction, Grey Wolf also understood the ins and outs of the matter, and his heart was immediately filled with incredible. He didn't expect that there would be such a thing, but he happened to encounter it, or his talent was still favored by the other party, which was also the reason why he was summoned. Grey Wolf also introduced himself, but when he said it, in order to let Sid and others better understand Grey Wolf, Kuruda would still talk about it in detail. After listening, the 3 of them also understood that it turned out to be from another world dominated by orcs. At the same time, they had to admit that after listening, they really liked and admired Grey Wolf. Except for being a wolf and not being able to catch sheep, he was basically good in other aspects, whether in character or ability, and could be called an all-round man, a good father, and a good husband. After listening, Grey Wolf was also very surprised and asked why Kuruda knew so much about him. Kuruda directly talked about the theory of the heavens and the worlds, which he had told Maple before. Grey Wolf was stunned after listening, but thinking of this experience, plus he had been to the human world twice in a row, their world and the human world over there was indeed a cartoon, so soon, Grey Wolf also accepted Kuruda's words. But at the same time, he also understood what he was going to do here, to adventure with these people in front of him, in this world dominated by the sea, and to overthrow the current evil celestial dragon rule, as a stronger villain to overthrow the current villain. After hearing this, Grey Wolf's eyes lit up. He likes this kind of thing. Although he does not admit that he is a bad guy, from the perspective of the food chain and those little fat sheep, he is indeed a villain. But he also has a heart dedicated to justice and saving the world, and it is so in line with the character of this king. According to the previous voice, the wages are still mutton. Grey Wolf has decided to do this job. After all, what is there to gather? The treatment is so good, and it is also what he likes to do. Although that was said by the mysterious voice, he believes that the captain in front of him should be able to take out mutton. Grey Wolf immediately said, "Captain, before I came here, a voice told me that if I work here, that is, here with you to take risks to fight evil, I can get mutton here, and I can take the mutton back at any time." Go back. Hearing this, Sid and the other 2 widened their eyes, and then all looked at Kuruda. Didn't they say that they couldn't go back after coming here, at least not in the short term? Ahem, that's it. Kuruda explained the new ability unlocked by the system. All summoned companions can return to their original world at any time for 3 days, but no matter how long they stay there, there is a 9-day cooling off period. However, the performance of Sid and the other 2 was similar to what Kuruda thought. Ariel and Maple, who had no attachment to their original world, showed that they were not interested in it. After all, they were dead in their original world, so they should not suddenly appear again. Maple's original world was an ordinary world, and she was born in a terrible country. The dead are resurrected. If those people find out something, it will inevitably be very troublesome, so I don't want to go back. Ariel is also worried that when she resurrects and returns, she will affect the changes in the world, or those annoying gods will take action, so she doesn't really want to go back. But Sid is different. After trying again, in the eyes of Zongningjan, he did open the space transmission channel that can return to the original world. Do you want to go back? Kuruda asked. The other three, including Grey Wolf, also looked at Sid. I have been here for a long time. I am afraid that Alpha and the others will worry. At the same time, without me there, those remaining remnants may do something weird. I must go back. Sid nodded and said. There is nothing for you recently. Go back and talk to them. Anyway, you can go back every 9 days at any time. Kuruda said. Yo-yo, pretender, I wish you a happy return. Ariel also smiled. HMPH, I'll lend you my good words, Chunabu. Sid snorted coldly and stepped directly into the portal. Grey Wolf and Maple also said goodbye, but at the same time they were also very curious about what the two people called each other. But at the same time, Grey Wolf also understood that he had to go back for 3 days every 9 days. In this case, he could accept it, but first, the captain had to take out the mutton. Captain, Grey Wolf was about to speak. I know you failed and now you want to take some mutton back to your wife and children, right? Kuruda naturally saw the expression of Grey Wolf. Thinking of what Grey Wolf had said before coming here, he laughed after understanding it. Grey Wolf nodded quickly and asked Kuruda if he could really take out the mutton. Haha, mutton is not a scarce commodity here. Wait for me, I'll go get the mutton. Kuruda remembered that there was fresh mutton in the storage room, and immediately teleported away. However, his teleportation ability requires seeing far away first, so Kuruda first came to the sea, because he could see the sea from the window of his room. Then after returning to the ship, Kuruda went to get the mutton. Kuruda moved carefully and lightly, just to prevent Alan and the two sisters from being woken up. He even used chaos energy to hide himself. Soon, he came to the storage room and got a large piece of fresh mutton, but then he thought that Grey Wolf would have to stay here for a long time. If Grey Wolf took such a piece of mutton back today, it would probably be eaten by the 3 wolves. So he quickly took out the storage ball, but it was not his own, but the one originally left for the new partner, which would be given to Grey Wolf later. He took at least 1 ton, and after Grey Wolf took it over and came back, the mutton there was enough for Red Wolf and Little Grey to eat for a while. Although Red Wolf's cooking skills were not good in the early stage, it was no problem for Grey Wolf to build a cooking robot and a robot to take care of them. After all, Grey Wolf would be active in the pirate world in the future, and there must be someone he trusted there to help him take care of his wife and children. Let Grey Wolf talk to his wife and son when he returns. After taking the mutton, Kuruda immediately returned to his room. This is a storage ball. There is at least 1 ton of fresh mutton in it, Kuruda said as he handed the storage ball to Grey Wolf and explained how to use it. As a scientist, Grey Wolf quickly figured out how to use it, but when he completely took out a piece of mutton and put it on his wolf paw. Looking at the mutton that was exactly the same as in his memory, the red meat and white veins, the feel, and the unique smell of mutton, Grey Wolf was stunned. His hands and feet couldn't help shaking. He gritted his teeth, shed hot tears and said, "Mutton, it's really mutton. I, Grey Wolf, finally see mutton again. Hong Hong and Xiao Weiwei can finally eat mutton. Me too, Dad, Mom, my son finally eats mutton again. My son didn't embarrass you." Seeing this scene, even Kuruda had to admit that the most satisfying thing for Grey Wolf was to take good care of his family, and then to eat mutton. Even after the peace between Wolf Fang and Wolf Fang, he still didn't believe that Grey Wolf didn't have the idea of eating mutton in his heart during that period, or that he felt sorry for his son and wife not eating mutton. After all, he didn't fulfill the wishes of his wife and son. "Thank you, Captain. I, Grey Wolf, will work with you in the future. I am willing to help you and go on adventures with you." After wiping away his tears, Grey Wolf first put the mutton back in the storage ball. Then he said with gratitude, at the same time, now this self-respecting Wolf King may be willing to recognize Kuruda. The system also quickly popped up a prompt. Congratulations to the host for getting the recognition of Grey Wolf, 100% loyalty has been activated, don't worry about being betrayed by him, please experience a wonderful adventure with the summoned villain. Kuruda smiled, he finally got a top scientist like Grey Wolf. At the same time, he immediately opened the Grey Wolf panel. He had talked too much before and actually forgot this. The system quickly gave Kuruda the corresponding Grey Wolf panel. Name: Grey Wolf. Age: over 30 years old at least. Gender: male. Introduction: a top powerhouse from the world of Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf, with an extremely strong spirit of not admitting defeat and not giving up, a top wolf scientist, versatile, and a partner who can completely rely on his back and give him important tasks. Ability: wolf fighting skills, top scientific research ability. Current strength: Lieutenant General level. Weapons: none. Bounty amount: none. Bounty title: none. After reading the Grey Wolf panel, Kuruda showed an expression of, as expected, but he did not expect that the Grey Wolf in the early stage had entered the strength of a lieutenant general, which was not bad. But compared to them, even as a scientist on the ship, the strength is still far behind. He only hopes that in the next 3 choices, after his selection, the strength of the Grey Wolf can be improved. Oh, and there's Maple. Next, in order to let his wife and son eat mutton earlier, there were still some things to deal with over there, and after saying goodbye, Grey Wolf automatically opened the space channel leading to his original world and went back. Kuruda also asked Maple and Ariel to go back first and have a good rest for a night. Since the two of them could chat, and Maple couldn't be exposed on the ship for the time being, so after discussing with the 2 women and the 2 women agreed, Maple temporarily lived with Ariel in Ariel's room. Since Maple couldn't teleport, the 2 could only sneak out of Kuruda's room and quietly return to Ariel's room. After they left, Kuruda first looked at the table next to him, and there were 3 storage balls and 3 headphones left. These were left for Alan and the 2 sisters, and the rest had been divided up, including the new Maple and Grey Wolf. After reading it, Kuruda went to lie on the bed. After thinking for a while, he opened Maple's 3-choice 2-choice. The corresponding options were quickly presented in his mind by the system. Advanced Observation Hockey. A top power in the pirate world. As long as you choose it, you can directly obtain this powerful power. Advanced Armed Hockey. A top power in the pirate world. As long as you choose it, you can directly obtain this powerful power. Super Deluxe Toolbox. It contains top-level ship repair tools and equipment that can make ship repair parts. Good shipbuilders can't do without it. After a quick look, Kuruda chose the first and third ones. The third one was naturally because Maple, who is now a shipbuilder, really needs it. A good toolbox is matched with a good shipbuilder. Maple's own attack and defense power are very terrible, and it is not a shortcoming. Although Armed Hockey can enhance her combat effectiveness, it can be obtained through acquired practice, and he recently obtained a space-time practice space. On the contrary, Maple's reaction ability is a shortcoming, and as long as she obtains the advanced power of Observation Hockey now, she can make up for it. Therefore, Kuruda naturally chose the first and third ones. After he finished learning, these 2 powers also turned into a ball of light and flew out of the window, and then came to Ariel's room. Maple was startled, but fortunately there was Ariel's explanation. After all, she had experienced it. After learning that it was the power given to her by the captain, she gladly accepted it. After obtaining the toolbox and Observation Hockey, Maple also expressed her love one after another. At least Ariel next to her could see her sincerity, and after Maple opened the toolbox, the things inside were really very good, both in quality and image. Ariel was also sincerely happy for this new partner and new sister. Don't worry about Grey Wolf, wait until he comes back, so Kuruda didn't open it for the time being, and fell asleep slowly. And it's a brand new day, and tomorrow we can completely arrive at Zyo Village. However, during breakfast, the 2 sisters and Alan curiously asked Kuruda why Sid was not on the ship. Obviously, they had discovered Sid's disappearance, even before breakfast. Kuruda also took the opportunity to tell him about the time and space cultivation, and made up a white lie, saying that Sid had gone into practice. Hearing that there was such a magical thing, Alan and the two sisters opened their eyes and mouths, but soon became excited. After Kurula agreed, they went in after breakfast. Obviously, the two sisters and Alan were dissatisfied with the strength of the current admiral candidates. They wanted to be promoted to admirals quickly, so they were a little impatient to enter the time and space cultivation space practice. Because someone had to watch outside and they were not in a hurry to improve their strength, they would arrive at Zyo Village in a day, so Kuruda did not go in, and even Ariel was the same. They all planned to wait for a while. Although there was still one day, in order to prevent Maple from being discovered, Maple also went into practice at Kuruda's request, but she was also very happy about it, saying that she had not fought for a long time, and she had gained new strength, so she had to adapt well first. Soon, Maple also went in. Kuruda also left immediately, letting Ariel continue to watch, but Kuruda had something to do. He immediately came to the entertainment room in the cabin, put all the entertainment and sports facilities he bought yesterday in, and found a suitable place to put them. With so many fun things, the boring time on the ship will be reduced a little, even me. Kuruda smiled and said. As if thinking of something, Kuruda quickly turned on the headphones and said. Sid, Grey Wolf, what's going on over there? We're going to dock tomorrow, and there will be a small operation. That's right, this headset can actually chat across worlds, but in fact, under the influence of the system, the world that originally summoned the character has been connected to this pirate world, just like a paper cup phone, which has been connected by a wire. At the same time, Sid and Grey Wolf spoke one after another. Sid, when Alpha and the others saw me, they were excited and in tears. They spent a month over there, and I also spent a month here, and it seems that they know I'm not here. Those remnants are indeed arrogant, but fortunately Alpha and the others resisted. I am leading the team to eliminate these forces and strive for endless troubles here. After all, this is already my world, but I can still come back tomorrow. Grey Wolf, I went back too late last night and was beaten by Hong Hong in a pan, but after seeing the mutton I took out, he was completely stunned, and even shed tears and hugged me and said, we can finally eat mutton, I can finally eat mutton, and my son can finally eat mutton. I haven't seen her smile like this for a long time. I am very satisfied. My son also praised me. After I cooked the mutton, our family had a happy dinner together. It was an unprecedented sumptuous dinner. Quote, I am really happy. I want to say thank you to the captain here. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have a happy day today. I will go back in 2 days. I am making a lot of robots. Please take good care of Hong Hong and Shalweiwei after I leave. As for leaving, I plan to talk about it at dinner today. I will take care of it. Quote, from the answers of the two people, it is not difficult for Kuruda to hear that the two people are very satisfied with this after returning. Hearing that the two people are living well over there, he also smiled happily. But he immediately asked again, did you talk about the pirate world? Sid, I told them. Although they couldn't believe it, after my explanation, I showed the power of the pirate world again. I told them that I wanted to conquer that world, so I had to go and see it in advance. Let them manage this place first, and they accepted it. Anyway, I will work hard these days to eliminate those remnants. Grey Wolf, I said it before, I will say it tonight, but don't worry, they will believe it after 2 experiences of going to the human world, and let me say goodbye to them. You can do it on your own and come back at the time you agreed. After saying this, Kuruda also heard the two people's reply that it was okay, and hung up the headset communication this time. Then it was normal life again. After dealing with things here, Kuruda returned to the deck to bask in the sun. Ariel said it was boring, or Kuruda said there were many fun things in the entertainment room, so he sent her away, otherwise she didn't listen to what she said next to him, and Kuruda was almost annoyed to death. Next, except for lunch and dinner, Alan would come out to cook and come out for a while, and the two sisters would also come out for lunch. The rest of the time was basically spent in the practice space to improve their strength. Maple hadn't come out yet, because Kuruda had already told her to watch the time and come out at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. After all, by this time tomorrow, it is estimated that Zyo Village will be visible. Time passed normally like this. After dinner, Alan and the two sisters actually wanted to go into practice, but they were stopped by Kuruda, saying that they would act again tomorrow and rest early today. The three of them could only sigh and go into the cabin bedroom to rest. Ariel also nodded to Kuruda and went back to sleep. The time was almost up. On the last day, Kuruda came to the deck early in the morning before 5 o'clock. He could see the village of Sarab in the distance without a telescope. They had arrived last night and anchored in the nearby sea to rest. Soon, the time and space training space door behind him responded, and Maple came out quickly. As soon as she came out, she said that she had adapted to the original power and the new power. Kuruda congratulated her and pointed at Sarab Village. It's time. Maple was not stupid. After nodding, she used the mechanical god to grow a rocket launcher on her back and flew towards the island where Sarab Village was. But at the same time, Kuruda seemed to feel as if he had forgotten something. No, it's not that Sid is coming back today. Oh, I forgot about the alien core and the night bat core. Kuruda, who finally remembered, clapped his hands and shouted. He almost forgot that he had bought the tokens of the 2 regiments of the Ghost Corps, and now he has the command and summoning rights of the Alien Corps and the Night Bat Corps. Thinking of this, he directly took out the tokens of the 2 regiments from the storage ball. After having the storage ball, he has put a lot of things in it, things that belong to him. Even the original 3 tokens are in it. After thinking about it for a while, Kuruda summoned 200 Night Bat Corps soldiers and 250 Alien Corps soldiers respectively. And immediately issued an order. The Night Bat Corps flies to the sky, the Alien Corps goes to the sea, and increases the range. If there is any special situation, report to me in time. The ghost soldiers of the 2 major regiments have already appeared, and they have also taken action separately. The soldiers of the Night Bat Corps spread their huge bat wings and flew into the sky, and the Alien Corps also jumped directly from the ship into the sea and swam away. But with the token, Kuruda knew that the 2 battlefields had been carrying out their missions according to his orders and their distribution range was expanding. However, he did not stop yet. He took out the ultimate battle instrument and took a look. Sure enough, he found that Lidola and King Air were very tired now. After all, they had been following for several days and had not had a rest. So he also used the ultimate battle instrument to collect the 2 monsters and let them have a good rest. He was not a boss who exploited his employees. Not long after, Sid also came back. Yes, Sid came back according to the agreed time. However, some interesting things happened. That is, when entering the transmission channel, the entrance can be fixed, but the exit must appear at the place of the last entrance. In other words, when Sid came back now, he actually appeared in Kuruda's room. When Grey Wolf comes back in a few days, he will also appear in Kuruda's room. When Grey Wolf and Sid returned, they also opened the exit at the place where they entered for the first time. Fortunately, Kuruda left his room early, otherwise it would be embarrassing if Sid suddenly appeared. Fortunately, Kuruda left early, but Sid, who knew the specific plan, came to the deck as soon as possible. Have you finished your business? Kuruda said without turning around, looking at the rising sunset. It's done, but I didn't expect to be able to go back so soon, and I can go back at any time, although there is time to cool down. Sid also said while looking at the sunset. But after a moment of silence, he immediately added, it would be great if I could bring them here. It's okay when my system authority is increased, but Ariel and Maple will be troublesome, Kuruda said, but when talking about Ariel and Maple, Sid understood without him saying more. After all, his situation is different from Ariel and the others. He still has partners in the original world, but Ariel and the others are either dead or can't meet them. After all, the rebirth of the dead may bring trouble to the original world, especially Ariel's world, which is more complicated than they imagined. Okay, let's not talk about it. Who can say what will happen in the future? Fate should be in our own hands, Kuruda turned around and said with a smile. Sid seemed to be infected as well, and immediately smiled and nodded. Soon, except for Maple who had entered Zyo Village and Grey Wolf who had not returned, the former fallen pirates were now crew members. They gathered at the dining table again and enjoyed a delicious breakfast. However, at the dining table, Kuruda also explained in detail the purpose of coming to Zyo Village this time. In fact, it was mainly for Alan and the 2 sisters to hear. As for Ariel and Sid, they just listened to it again. It was really just a little bit. They only heard part of Maple. But at the same time, there was another part that Kuruda did not tell them, because he had to handle this matter himself. But now everyone in front of him was talking about the fact that this time, in addition to inviting new partners to board the ship, they also wanted to get rid of the current butler of the Kaya family, who was actually the leader of the Black Cat Pirates, Beiji Crow, and the entire Black Cat Pirates. After listening, everyone nodded. After breakfast, they all came to the deck to do their duties. The bull once again headed towards the not-so-distant Zyo Village. Now the sun has risen, and the blue sky and white clouds can be seen. As they got closer, Kuruda stood on the bow and suddenly saw 4 figures on the hillside of the island, 1 big and 3 small. Considering that this is the West Rob village, he suddenly thought of something, so he picked up the telescope and looked into the distance, and sure enough. The hair like an afro, a bit sloppy dress and that special long nose, who else could it be but the future sniper King Usopp? As for the 3 little ghosts next to him, he basically knew them, they were Usopp's 3 little brothers. Are you playing the pirate game so early in the morning? Ariel, just stop the boat next to the island. Kuruda ordered. And in the formal adventure, Ariel also gave Kuruda face. Yes, my captain, Ariel said with a smile, and at the same time, she, who already had the ability of a top helmsman, also skillfully mastered the steering wheel and slowly approached a small pier next to the West Rob village. Captain, it looks like a pirate from the flag, there are really pirates coming. At this time, on the hillside of the West Rob village, looking at the approaching bull, one of Usopp's little brothers shouted directly. There is no way. I have played the pirate game for so many years, but this time there are real pirates coming to Zyo Village, and such a big ship, the pirates on it are probably very strong. Usopp is usually timid and likes to brag. Now he is a little scared after seeing the real pirates. After all, many pirates are demons who kill people without spitting bones, and they like to rob villages very much. But he immediately said, "What are you afraid of? I am Captain Usopp with 8,000 subordinates. I will be afraid of the pirates in front of me. Just in case, you go to let the villagers take refuge first, and I will deal with them alone." Although Usopp has some bragging this time, in fact, as his home Zyo Village, he naturally wants to protect it well. After all, his dream is to become a great sea warrior. Although he knows very well that his strength is just a chicken, as long as he can hold on for a while, the 3 brothers can let the villagers hide and take refuge quickly. Even if he dies in battle, he thinks it is worth it. As a warrior, he should have the spirit of sacrifice for the people and things he wants to protect. However, they are often fooled. These 3 little brothers are still young and actually think that Usopp can solve the opposing pirate group. To be honest, with Usopp's current strength, it is a problem for him to defeat a ninja soldier. Well, at most 2, no more. If there is 1 more, it is really overestimating Usopp now. The 3 little brothers are about to leave. But how could Kuruda let them leave? These people are still useful to him. So he immediately ordered the ninja group to take action. Only the ninja group was sent. After all, the troll group and the samurai group were too scary, too tall and too majestic. The alien group and the night bat group were not needed because they did not need to be exposed now. They had to wait for Grey Wolf to come back and introduce them. Soon, nearly a dozen ninja soldiers appeared and blocked the way of the 3 children. Seeing so many black-clothed ninjas on the opponent, the 3 children were shocked and stayed where they were. Even Usopp was the same, because there were even more ninjas beside him, but seeing that the other party did not take action immediately, although he was afraid, he also understood that these ninjas must be people from the opposite pirate ship. As long as he did not go to the deserted island, these ninjas would not touch him, at least before the people from the pirate ship came up. However, are these black-clothed men in front of him really mysterious ninjas from the distant Wano country? There are really ninjas in this world, coming here without anyone noticing. Could it be the rumored ninjutsu? Soon, on the ship, with the cooperation of several people, the bull was parked steadily next to the dock of Zyo Village. Putting down the wooden steps, several people also got off the ship directly and came to the island. Well, I haven't stepped on land for a long time. Obviously, Liu Kei was very excited about stepping on land. Compared with the sea, people feel safer on land. After all, people breathe air, not water. People always have a sense of awe and fear for the endless and dark sea. Sister, stop talking. We still have work to do. Lucy criticized immediately. As the captain, Kuruda didn't say anything. What did you say? In this regard, Lucy also stuck out her tongue, which made Sid and Ariel beside her laugh. The twin sisters are really interesting, and they also added a bit of fun to the ship. Alan has long been accustomed to this, including Kuruda, so they just smiled. However, Kuruda immediately said, "Did you see those children surrounded by the ninja group? Teleport over there." After he finished speaking, he took the lead in using teleportation, and the others also used it immediately. Then, in the horrified eyes of the three children and Usopp, because they saw that the ninjas next to them did not attack them, they naturally turned their eyes to they noticed the bull ship that had already docked and the Kurudas who had disembarked. But they were still shocked to see Kurudas and his men suddenly appear in front of them. What was going on? They suddenly appeared. Even Usopp was frightened and sweated profusely. He was a timid person. He also knew that these people who could suddenly appear in front of them were definitely not simple. But soon, Kuruda's next sentence made him relax his vigilance. "You are Usopp, the son of Jesus Bu." Kuruda looked at Usopp and smiled. As for Usopp, the future Straw Hat Pirate's desperate comeback, he used to watch anime and liked such a character very much. He was vivid and performed very well. Moreover, he did not want to make enemies with the Straw Hat Pirates. After all, they were a pirate group favored by the world. As mentioned before, he was still a little afraid of Im's strength, but he knew very well that according to the original trend of things, it must be Luffy who had become Joy Boy and the Straw Hat Pirates who defeated them, Im and his world government. So it is better to make friends with the Straw Hat Pirates as a trump card against Im in the future, plus he has no conflict of interest or thought with the Straw Hat Pirates. "Ah, you know my father." Hearing Kuruda actually call out his father's name, and it was obvious that he knew him. Usopp asked curiously and urgently, he wanted to know about his father. He grew up in the village of Sarab, but his father had become a pirate before he was born, and his mother fell ill after giving birth to him. In the end, his father never came back, and his mother died of illness, so he really wanted to know what kind of person this father who made him slowly become a big talker, a father he had never met, was. Kuruda could still answer this. Although he had never seen Jesus Bu, he had watched the One Piece anime before, and he had some understanding of Jesus Bu. To put it nicely, he was a top-notch sniper on the sea, a crew member of the Red Hair Pirates, one of the 4 emperors today, and a core cadre. But if you want to put it bluntly, it is a scumbag who abandoned his wife and children in order to go on adventures with his brothers. And there are actually many scumbag fathers like this in the pirate world. But now, Kurata naturally said the good side. Later, Usopp also asked how Kurata recognized him at first sight, and was fooled by Kurula a little bit and passed it. Because Kurata couldn't say that he had seen it in the anime before. "Then why did you come here? You are not going to rob the village?" Usopp asked again. He was still very worried about the purpose of Kurata and his group. He even speculated that many pirate groups would do it. Haha, that's what the extremely bad low-level pirate groups would do. "We won't. We are pirates among pirates. We are specialized in hunting other pirates. Just like what I said before, I got the news that the Black Cat Pirates, who disappeared in the East China Sea for almost 3 years, appeared here for the last time. In other words, I came to cause trouble for them." Kurata laughed first, and then immediately stated his purpose. But it was just one of them, but the first thing he had to do now was to get rid of Beiji Kuro and the Black Cat Pirates. "What did you say? A pirate group came to us 3 years ago, and from what you said, it seems that they are hiding." Usopp was shocked and said with some fear after hearing this. Because from what Kuruda said before, the Black Cat Pirates must be a pirate group with very bad behavior. Such a pirate group last appeared in Zyo Village 3 years ago, so he guessed that they must be hiding in Zyo Village. And he also believed this. He believed that a strong man like Kuruda would not lie to him, and there were indeed more people in the village 3 years ago, many of whom he did not know. But such a pirate group actually hid in the village for almost 3 years. What on earth do they want to do? It's scary to think about it. However, Usopp misunderstood. Only Kuro entered the West Rob village. He was now disguised as the butler of Kaya's family. As for the other members of the Black Cat Pirates, they should still be wandering in the nearby seas with their pirate group. But it won't be long before Luffy and his group arrives. It's like the world deliberately pressed a switch. Kuro contacted the Black Cat pirates and asked them to stop on the shore first, and then they would invade the West Rob village and kill Kaya. But before that, Kuro's hypnotist Zangao would hypnotize Kaya and let Kaya write a property transfer will before she died, and transfer all to Kuro. In this way, Kuro can inherit all the property. At the same time, as a good citizen of the Butler, after 3 years of lurking, the people in the village will not suspect him. In the end, he will have 3 of this property, and the remaining 7 of the Black Cat pirates will be disbanded on the spot, and Kuro can live a good life with this large amount of property. So now it is only Kuro who has really sneaked into the West Rob village for nearly 3 years. Don't worry, we are here to deal with the Black Cat pirates. However, in order to find the members of the Black Cat pirates from the villagers, we must use some extraordinary means. Kuruda said with a smile. Yeah, hearing this, for some reason, Usopp had a bad premonition in his heart. But soon, his premonition came true. After Kuruda finished speaking, he led everyone directly to the square of Zyo Village, and then immediately asked all the ghost ninja soldiers to attack and forcibly brought all the residents of Zyo Village to the square. Didn't you say that you would not hurt the residents? Usopp saw that the bad premonition was completely realized, but he immediately said to Kuruda with some fear, and his 3 capable men were also afraid. Finding people from many residents is not good for 4 pirates, this is the most effective, practical and pirate-friendly method. Don't worry, I won't hurt the residents, Kuruda said with a smile. At the same time, he also looked at the residents who had been brought here by the ghost ninja soldiers. These residents were now full of fear. Looking at Kurta and his group on the stage, they usually use the arrival of pirates as a wake-up call because of Usopp. They never thought that pirates would come today. But at this time, they were also very confused and angry. Why did Usopp and those little ghosts also stand next to those pirates? At this time, seeing the hundreds of residents who had gathered here, he also saw Kaya, who had been brought from the mountain by the ghost soldiers, including Meili, the housekeeper who really did it for her and later gave the Straw Hat Pirates the first pirate ship, and Chloe, who was now pretending to be a housekeeper and was about to implement the plan. Seeing that everyone was here, Kurta smiled immediately. Hello, villagers of Zyo Village, I am the captain of our fallen pirates, Kurta. But don't worry, we are different from most pirates. We will not commit arson, murder or looting. We came to Zyo Village today and gathered you here for one thing. As long as this thing is done, we will leave immediately. At the same time, this bag of 100,000 Baileys is yours, Kuruda said, and after that, he threw out a bag of money. The bag was opened, and several bills fell out of it, but when you look inside the bag, you will find that there are still many. And seeing that there is really so much money, many residents had stars in their eyes, and some even called out, asking Kurta to do things as soon as possible. I didn't expect the pirates to really come, Kaya, who had also been brought to the square, said in a surprised tone. Her good friends often made her happy, even the liar Usopp, who often lied in the village that pirates were coming. She knew that. But she didn't expect that the lie would come true today. The pirates really came, and there were so many people in black. It seemed that there were quite a few of them. But at the same time, she was also very curious why Usopp and the 3 children stood with the pirates. However, at this time, Kuro frowned. He found that the pirate group in front of him might be much stronger than his Black Cat pirates, especially those on the stage. He didn't see the strength of any of them. At the same time, in his heart, he had already felt he had a bad premonition. His premonition soon came true, just like Usopp before. Hearing what Kuruda said next, his face changed drastically. If it weren't for Meili and Kaya next to him who were also looking at the stage, his current expression would definitely be seen clearly. Our pirate group has a hobby, which is to hunt other pirate groups, especially those with bounties. We came here for the Black Cat pirates who disappeared in this area 3 years ago, but I suspect these people have been integrated into you. Now you find all these people for me, and the money is yours. These are their photos, several important cadres and captains on their ship. Quote. After Kuruda finished speaking, he took out a large pile of photos that he had prepared in advance and threw them down. In order to get the money, many residents would at least get 1,000 Baileys, even if they divided it among the nearly hundreds of residents. They picked up the photos and looked at them one by one. However, as for the photos of others, they had never seen them before. After all, the Black Cat pirates seemed to have never entered the West Rob village. It should be to conceal it, so the residents did not recognize them at all. But even when Usopp and Kaya got the photos, they were stunned when they saw one of the photos. Otherwise, they all looked at the ugly-looking Chloe with all the residents. The person in this photo, the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, is not Chloe in front of them. What? The leader of the Black Cat Pirates is actually the butler of Kaya's family. The Black Cat Pirates disappeared 3 years ago, and this guy appeared 3 years ago. Did this guy actually plot against Kaya? Although Usopp is timid, he is smart and immediately understood the whole story. At this point, he was already convinced. At the same time, he believed that the guy who had been lurking in Kaya's house for 3 years disguised as a butler was definitely not well-intentioned. Even the residents couldn't believe it. This was Kaya's family, the richest in the village, but her butler actually had such an identity. Isn't this equivalent to an ungrateful wolf? He would bite his master at any time. Even thinking about it, these residents felt scared and terrified. Kaya was also stunned. The butler turned out to be such an identity. These pirates didn't look like they were lying. Moreover, Chloe's expression was ugly now. In addition, her parents died strangely 3 years ago. She was 95% sure that Chloe had something to do with their parents' death. This guy would sooner or later erupt like a volcano and bite her back. No, this guy had been plotting against her and her family for a long time. At this time, Meili also got a photo. After seeing it clearly, she first protected Kaya, and then said to Chloe with bitterness and fear. Bartle, although I don't want to say this, the evidence is in front of me now. Haha, Mary, is it fun to ask when you know the answer? Crow's uncomfortable expression turned into a sneer, and he said. However, the sneer on his face this time was not only because his plan had been exposed, or he could declare bankruptcy in advance, but also because he had to pretend to be a good housekeeper in Kaya's house and a good citizen in front of the residents of Zyo Village. So the kind smile he usually showed was naturally fake, otherwise, as a cold-blooded pirate, he would show such a smile. What was he thinking? Was this reasonable? But now he finally admitted it in person, and let Usopp, Kaya, and the residents see his true face completely. No way, he's actually a pirate. I've heard of Black Cat Kuro, and I heard he's a very sinister and cunning person. Then, he must have had bad intentions when he entered Miss Kaya's house. The residents looked at him and said, but they still couldn't believe that the housekeeper who usually treated them kindly was actually such a sinister and cunning pirate. You. Kaya pointed at Kuro with anger and sadness. She was angry because she finally understood why her parents died strangely a few years ago, and she was sad because she never thought that the housekeeper who was so gentle to her was actually the murderer of her parents, and had some bad intentions towards her, and had been hiding it until now. Kaya was now angry and sad, and even had a little emotional breakdown. Asshole, you hateful asshole. Seeing Kaya like this, Usopp, her childhood sweetheart, was not afraid at all this time, and pointed at Kuro and cursed angrily. Because he thought about it, if Kuruda and the others hadn't come here today, this rat shit would spoil the soup sooner or later, plotting something bad, and would take action sooner or later, then Kaya would. Thinking of this, Usopp felt unprecedented fear, because he didn't want to lose Kaya, a female, friend. Humph, blame you for being too stupid, and actually let me hide for 3 years. Chloe snorted coldly. You are too stupid, even in the current East China Sea, you are the weakest and most incompetent pirate. Kuruda finally said, looking at Chloe with a sneer, and said with disdain and contempt, to such an inferior and incompetent pirate. Asshole, if it weren't for you, how could this captain's great plan fail? If it weren't for you and your pirate group coming here, in a few days, I would be able to work with my original pirate group to completely swallow up the property of Kaya's family. At that time, I could pretend to be a good citizen and get away with it for the rest of my life. Such a great plan has been destroyed by you. Moreover, I am the leader of the Black Cat Pirates. The bounty was over 10 million at the beginning. What qualifications do you pirates have to say about me? Chloe cursed angrily. In his opinion, if it weren't for Kuruda and the others, would his plan fail? He didn't even have the ability to implement it. Moreover, this is the captain's plan that he thinks is perfect, but it was said to be worthless by such a pirate. How could he not be angry? Haha, the fury of an incompetent rat, you have been hiding for too long, you don't know what's going on outside, right? Oh, by the way, how can someone who can come up with such a bad plan have a brain? Kuruda said unyieldingly, leading his companions behind him to laugh. Not only them, but also the residents next to them, Usopp, and even the somewhat sad Kaya laughed, but it was obvious that this was a complete mockery of Kuro. You, give me your life. Kuro, who was so calm and composed in the original work, was also driven crazy by Kuruda's words. His face was full of anger and controversy, and he finally revealed his long-hidden strength. The cat claw gloves hidden on the ordinary gloves were revealed, revealing the 10 sharp claws. At the same time, he also directly used his special move, the silent step, an assassination technique that moves at high speed like a cat's footsteps. Killed towards Kuruda, but with his strength. Others can be easily defeated by Luffy now, is it useful in front of Kuruda? Kuruda smiled disdainfully. This guy really didn't deserve the king's haki. He couldn't even sense the dual haki at all. He was really a waste. However, as an ordinary person, he had such a speed. However, Kuruda still caught it with his observation haki realm and was about to attack. But Ariel condensed a punch of armament haki and hit it quickly, and the speed was even faster. In terms of sudden physical explosive power, the current fallen on the pirates, there is really no one who can compare to Ariel. I haven't exercised for a long time, Captain, let me play with this guy. Ariel said with a smile. However, Ariel volunteered, and Kuruda also stopped. Ariel's fist with the black glove hit Crow's face directly, and broke all the frames and lenses of his glasses. With a huge force, Crow was directly knocked out, smashing several big trees and buildings, and then fell hard into the ruins. The residents nearby and Usopp, Kaya and others had opened their mouths so wide that they could even fit an egg. Kaya was okay, after all, she was a rich lady, and her behavior was standard, so she could barely fit a cherry. Good, so strong. Usopp looked at Ariel, and said with fear, excitement, and admiration. He had always yearned for the strong, and his dream was to become a great sea warrior. Ahem, this strength, and the color that suddenly appeared on the fist, who are you and the others? Chloe crawled out of the ruins, but his face had been paralyzed by ire, but Chloe still spit out a mouthful of blood and shouted in shock. Because just now, he saw something black on the fist of the woman in front of him, as if it was attached to it, which reminded him of the legendary domineering that he had heard of. Could it be this thing? So, who are these pirates who have this kind of power? Like our captain said before, a waste like you is not qualified to ask who we are. Ariel said teasingly, her eyes and smile full of disdain. Obviously, she also looked down on Chloe in front of her, even including Sid, Alan and the 2 sisters, and Maple who secretly came to the dark. Asshole, even if I die today, I will bite off a piece of meat from you, and scoop you to death. Scooping to death, Chloe's strongest move, the indiscriminate attack of silent step, using high-speed movement and cat claws on his hands to kill a large number of enemies, so fast that even the person who made the move didn't know what he would cut. Chloe was now completely furious and mad, and he directly used this move, approaching Ariel at a speed that ordinary people could hardly catch with the naked eye. Ariel was about to wave her hand to break the guy's limbs, but suddenly, a girl in black armor appeared in front of her. After realizing who the person was, Ariel smiled and stopped, and handed the last move on the battlefield to this new partner. Charge and resist. This is Maple's game skill, which can suddenly appear in front of a partner to help resist the attack, especially suitable for a shieldman like her. With a clang, Maple blocked Chloe's attack. However, Chloe's special move was a combo, with more than one claw swinging out, and he couldn't control the trajectory of the movement. But with his tickling attack, could Maple, who had full physical defense and special defense, be hurt? She is now a general, and even the 3 generals of the same level would find it difficult to break her defense. Not to mention Chloe, who doesn't even know how to use domineering. In front of everyone who was dumbfounded again in Chloe's horrified eyes, Maple easily blocked every attack of Chloe. Until Chloe stopped when he was exhausted. You, what kind of monster are you? Seeing the black armored girl in front of him so easily resist his attack, Chloe raised his hand and shouted in disbelief, but from his tone, he could already hear a hint of fear. Are you done? Then it's my turn, Maple said to him with a very kind smile. Chloe was frightened and calmed down. He knew that the situation was hopeless. He could not beat the opponent at all and was even crushed. So he immediately used his speed advantage again, but this time he did not attack, but ran away. Want to leave? I like long-range bombardment the most. Mechanical God, unfold, right hand. A sniper black gun suddenly appeared in Maple's hand. After automatic aiming, Maple fired a shot directly, and the red 4-star, black-edged destructive light bullet was fired. With a bang, Chloe was shot in the head in the shocked and horrified eyes of everyone, and a big hole appeared on his head. Chloe's eyes were empty soon, with unwilling and regretful eyes, and the body of the person who lost his power rolled down directly, and the last headshot body hit a tree. Many residents nearby were frightened and knelt on the ground. Oh my God, where did this female war god come from? Even Kaya and Usopp were the same, but after Usopp recovered, he immediately sighed and said in fear, is this the strong man from outside? He is really powerful, and such a precise sniper, is she a sniper? Quote. Then soon, Kuruda's words shocked him completely, and everyone present, of course, except Sid and Ariel who knew in advance. Long time no see, Maple. Kuruda said with a smile, acting the whole play. It's been a long time, Mr. Kuruda, I knew you would come to me. Maple, who took back the mechanical god, turned around and smiled. Then, are you willing to be my partner? Kuruda said. Of course, apply to board the ship, Captain, as a shipwright. Maple said. Usopp. Quote, shipwright. Usopp finally couldn't help but repeat the word. No, you call this a shipwright, isn't it the shipwright I think of? The shipwright who is only responsible for repairing and building ships. Thinking of the scene where Maple killed Kuro so easily, especially the perfect sniper at the end, shouldn't it be a combatant or a sniper? You call this a shipwright? Kuruda naturally heard Usopp's somewhat unbelievable murmur and saw the unbelievable expression on his face. He immediately laughed and explained, especially when Maple took out the complete set of shipwright toolbox. Usopp was a little collapsed to accept that Maple was a shipwright, but he was really a little collapsed, such a terrible fighting power, but it turned out to be a shipwright. At the same time, he also understood 2 points from Kuruda's explanation. Kuruda came to Zyo Village this time not only to understand Kuro and the Black Cat Pirates, but also to recruit this partner. But he still asked in confusion why he hadn't seen Maple in Zyo Village before. Maple said, it was a few years ago that Kuruda and I met. I used to be in the ship repair business, and the most frequent place I went to was Zyo Village. We once agreed that if Kuruda wanted to set up a pirate group and go out to sea, he would come here to find me to be his shipwright. I just came here not long ago, and I didn't expect to run into you, and then what happened just now happened. Usopp suddenly realized that this was the case. But he immediately asked, why is there only Kuro and other members of the Black Cat Pirates? But after he asked, he was stunned for a moment, and wanted to slap himself. Didn't he already know from Kuro? With the help of internal and external forces, the remaining members of the Black Cat Pirates must not be in Zyo Village, but drifting in the nearby sea. Don't worry, I won't let them go. I've asked the ninjas to search the nearby seas. Although Chloro said it would be a few days, they should be in this area. Kuruda smiled. As he spoke, Kuruda gestured to Alan and the 2 sisters respectively. The 3 of them understood, picked up the money bag that Kuruda had thrown out before, and helped the residents distribute the agreed Bailey. Seeing that there was really money to be taken, and at least 1,000, the residents naturally cheered and lined up to receive it. Kaya also reacted not long ago, looking at everything in front of her, and then after a little thought, she dragged her frail body to Kuruda and the others. Gritting her teeth, she said with hatred, Mr. Kuruda, can you give me Chloro's body? I want to burn his body in front of my parents' graves to sacrifice to my parents' spirits in heaven. Okay, you can take it. Seeing that the girl was out of filial piety, Kuruda agreed. Anyway, it was just a corpse, so it was better to cremate it early. Even if he is a villain or a scum, it is the same. After all, out of sight, out of mind. After thanking him, Kaya immediately asked Meili to make arrangements. At the same time, she was also a rich girl and could afford some money, so she immediately invited Kuruda and the others to have a meal at her place. It would be a waste if you don't eat a free lunch, so Kuruda naturally agreed. However, it was still early for lunch. Not to mention that Kuruda and the others still had to deal with Maple's affairs, even Usopp followed Kaya to pay tribute to her parents. The residents also left after getting the money. After Kuruda explained, Maple was officially on board. Soon, the Ghost Corps, or more precisely, the Alien Corps and the Night Bat Corps in the sea and the sky respectively, reported the situation to Kuruda and they found the Black Cat pirates. He told his friends about this. Many people were not interested in the opponent because they were trash, but the two sisters Lucy and Luke said that they had not performed a destruction show for a long time, so they immediately volunteered. After Kuruda agreed, the two sisters also flew out on their meteors, heading towards the direction of the Black Cat pirates. Believing in the strength of the two sisters, and with the Ghost Corps watching beside them, they could go to support at any time, so Kuruda immediately announced free activities on the spot. Zyo Village is also a big town, so go and have a good look. Ariel and Sid nodded and left. Alan said that he wanted to buy food. Some of the reserves on the ship were running low. Maple also went to find materials and parts to repair the ship. Both of them needed to make some purchases, including Sid and Ariel before, and the two sisters before. Kuruda gave them a lot of money. Soon, the fallen pirates began their rare free activities. After all, it has been a long time since I went to land. Well, not including Sid, after all, he was running back and forth in his world before. At the same time, after the morning's instructions, the distribution of the Alien Group and the Night Bat Group is almost all over the East China Sea, especially some important islands and ship-passing areas. The Alien Group and the Night Bat Group seem to have said that they are responsible for each other. They have helped Kuruda establish a complete set of East China Sea intelligence. It is difficult for the actions in the East China Sea to escape the eyes of these two major groups. But suddenly, on the edge of the East China Sea, or the border line from the Great Voyage back to the East China Sea, he came in a ship full of dessert flavor, and the pirate flag on it was obviously the Big Mom pirates. Obviously, these are the people and warships of the Big Mom pirates, one of the four emperors. Among them, the purple-haired man standing on the deck is obviously the leader. This is a tall, middle-aged warrior with a long beard. He is a sturdy man over 3 meters tall. There are 3 tufts of hair on the top and back of his head. The hair on the top of his head is in the shape of a long bread, and the tips of the 2 tufts of hair on the back of his head have sparks. His face is dangerous, and there is a scar on his right eye. He wears a pair of brown gloves. The upper body only has a shoulder guard on the right shoulder, a bright pink armor and a pink cloak with white spots. The lower body is wearing wide breeches and brown boots, and a big sword is hung on his waist. With such obvious features, it is obvious that this person is ordered to come here to find Cracker, one of the 3 generals of the fallen pirates who work for Big Mom. Soon a subordinate came to his side and said, "Lord Cracker, we have entered the East China Sea, but we don't know where the fallen pirates will be. After all, the East China Sea is still quite big. What are you afraid of? You will always find it. Keep an eye on their intelligence at all times. As long as you keep getting closer to the places they have been, you can find them." Cracker continued to look at the sea in front and said indifferently. "Yes." The subordinate went down quickly. "Fallen pirates, I hope you will give up the special black race for the sake of your mother's prestige." After all, after saying the last sentence, the originally cold Cracker suddenly looked a little ugly. He had also read the newspaper. He was very clear about the current combat effectiveness of the fallen pirates. The Navy's lineup at that time was led by the heroic Vice Admirals Garp and Aokiji, but they retreated helplessly after being beaten. He was not a brainless person. He was self-aware. Although the fallen pirates were really a rookie group at present, even the 4 emperors could not confront them head-on, let alone him. So now he really could only hope that his mother's face would be of some use. He really didn't want to fight with such a group of perverts. Even if he made more cookie men, he would get hurt. This was not what he wanted to see. But I heard that the Beast's pirates also sent Jack, the reckless man. If it was him, should I take a look first? Cracker suddenly thought of it and said. Obviously, there is an idea to use Drought Jack as a shield. However, At the same time, the warship of the beast pirates represented by Jack is also approaching the East China Sea. At the same time, the two sisters Lucy and Luke have already found the Black Cat pirates, looking at the pirates below, and directly launched a meteor shower and meteorite attack. The entire warship of the Black Cat pirates was smashed to pieces, and some shells on the ship seemed to be detonated. In the end, under the fire and smoke, all the broken wooden board residues and some miscellaneous fish sank forever in this sea. However, some people are still very lucky and survived, perhaps affected by the world. Among them is the current captain of the Black Cat pirates, Zhangao, who will actually change from a pirate to a third-class soldier in the Navy in the future, and then rise to colonel. Survived, there are some other minions, such as the Cat brothers. However, Lucy and Luke didn't know about this. Seeing the sea was already full of smoke, Lucy and Luke left immediately, thinking that no one would survive. Because Kuruda had told them before leaving. So after they returned, they went straight to the village of Zailuobu. After all, it was rare to finally come to the human town on land. At noon, everyone also had a meal at Kaya's house on the mountain. This was also agreed before, and people have invited you to dinner, so you can't not come, you have already agreed to go out. Although it's not as good as what Alan made, it's at least invited by a rich girl, so the taste and image will naturally not be much worse, just a little bit. This lunch is quite rich for the fallen pirates, and they are also very happy to eat. But after eating, Ariel secretly told Kurata that she wanted to practice in the space-time training space for a while. After all, her observation hockey and conqueror hockey, even armament hockey, needed to be improved. Sid asked Ariel privately. After knowing that there was such a good thing, he couldn't sit still and immediately said that he would go back to the ship with Ariel to practice. Kurata naturally agreed, and the two left soon. The two sisters wanted to play, and Alan and Maple also said that there were still a lot of supplies that had not been purchased, so they left one after another. Now the only ones left in the room were housekeeper Meili, Kaya, Usopp and his three young generals, and Kurata. But soon the three little ghosts left because they wanted to play and felt bored here. Interestingly, they said goodbye to the captain before leaving, of course to their boastful boss Usopp. Mary had to clean up the dishes and chopsticks, and there were many other things that were her responsibility, so she left immediately. Seeing that there were only these two people left, Kuruda knew the third purpose of coming here, which was also the last purpose, which was also a small regret he had when he watched One Piece. Let's solve it today. So he immediately said, do you have any ideas? Do you plan to stay in Zailuobu village forever? Don't you want to go out and see the world? Both of them were alone, but they quickly expressed their thoughts and difficulties. Usopp, my dream is to become a great sea warrior, or even a captain, and to lead a large pirate group of thousands of people in the future, but there is no decent ship and a partner who can be completely satisfied and pleasing to the eye. But in fact, Usopp still has no confidence in going out to sea, or it can be said that fear is at work. Kaya smiled and glanced at him. She knew that this guy was not lying before, but his dream. Although sometimes he did talk a lot, she was very happy to hear it. But Kaya also said immediately, my dream is actually to be a doctor, but because I have been weak and sick since childhood, I can't go to sea to study, so I can only study by myself. Hearing this, Kuruda smiled. Sure enough, it was the same as he thought, so it was easy to convince him. It won't be long before a group of people will come here. The most obvious one is the boy wearing a red short-sleeved shirt and a straw hat. He is a genius favored by your father's captain. The other people on his ship are also very good, and they are all leaders in various fields. If you get in touch with them, you may feel satisfied and embark on your dream journey with them. And speaking of the ship, as a good friend for so many years, it is not difficult for Kaya to help you solve it. As for you, this may help you. Kuruda said this and took out a golden fruit directly, which looked like a cantaloupe. This is a devil fruit. Kaya said with her mouth covered in surprise. What, is this the devil fruit? Usopp said, too. He opened his mouth wide, but it was obvious that they were basically seeing the devil fruit for the first time, this secret treasure of the sea. This is the natural Mingming fruit, which will give the user the power of light. However, it is a little less powerful and combat effective than the sparkle fruit, but the attack range is wider, and it also has the ability to self-recover and heal. As long as Kaya eats it, not only will her strength be greatly enhanced, but the power of the devil fruit will also enhance her physique, and such an effect will be continuous. Kuruda continued. As for where such a powerful devil fruit came from, it is also interesting to say. Just a few nights ago, Kuruda slept well, but King Air said that he found a box in the sea, and there seemed to be a fruit in the box. Kuruda, who heard that it was a devil fruit, immediately came to the deck and asked King Air to throw the box up. After opening it, he saw the fruit, and then used his analytical ability to know what the specific ability was, what fruit. Kuruda was extremely happy at that time, because he was thinking that in this way, the reputation value would not need to specifically help Kaya buy something to enhance her physique, this fruit would be enough. He really didn't want anyone in his group to eat this fruit. He would definitely summon a partner who would act as a doctor in the future. Moreover, although he didn't know whether this Mingming fruit was stronger or weaker than the pixie fruit, it was definitely not good in combat, so he didn't need it. It would be better to go to Kaya to exchange some money to spend, after all, she was a rich woman. But at this point, Kuruda's last purpose of coming to Zyo Village, or the little thing he wanted to solve, had already appeared. That was when he watched the animation. Kaya was weak and sick, and her body was exhausted, so she didn't join the Straw Hat Pirates with Usopp, otherwise he wouldn't believe anything. Kaya didn't want to go with Usopp, and she was also chasing her dream. He felt regretful at the time, but now that he is here and has the ability to solve it, let's solve it thoroughly. I hope to learn about Kaya's important performance in the Straw Hat Pirates in the coming days. At first, when they learned that it was such a powerful devil fruit, both Kaya and Usopp refused because it was too precious. There was no need for Kuruda to give this devil fruit to them, but after hearing Kuruda's subsequent explanation, the fallen pirates really didn't need it, and it was equivalent to a deal. Hearing this, Kaya, who was relieved, also agreed to complete the deal, as long as she could go to sea with Usopp and realize her dream of becoming a doctor at the same time. At the cost of nearly 85 million Baileys, one hand paid the money and the other hand delivered the goods. Seeing the wallet that became rich again, Kuruda smiled. She was really a little rich woman. At the same time, he had to admit that Usopp was lucky to be able to become a friend since childhood with this rich woman, and even a girlfriend in the future. Kuruda said something, wishing them good luck, and that he would leave in the afternoon and see them on the sea later, and then left. Only Usopp and Kaya were left in the room. Under Usopp's expectant eyes, Kaya smiled slightly and then bit off the devil fruit. But soon, her original smile slowly disappeared as she chewed, and finally became ugly. Kaya. Well, it's so unpalatable. It turns out that devil fruits are unpalatable, it's true. Ah. Usopp. Kaya, are you okay, Kaya? Even Kuruda, who had already left the house, heard their conversation and couldn't help laughing. I wish you good luck in the future. Kuruda said a blessing again and left. But as he walked, he also had a cross-border conversation with Grey Wolf through the headset. What's the situation over there? When will you decide to come back? Kuruda said. Many robots have been made. I am testing and inspecting them. Now finally, Hong Hong and Shalweiwei can eat mutton for 3 meals a day. Thank you, Captain. I told them tonight. Captain, I will be back tomorrow morning, please rest assured. Grey Wolf replied immediately. Kuruda immediately hung up the headset communication with satisfaction. But one thing is solved and another one comes. In front of Kurula, a soldier from the Night Bat group and the alien group suddenly appeared. The two soldiers seemed to be talking about something, but Kuruda could still understand, after all, he was the holder of the token. Is it Cracker, one of the 3 generals of the Big Mom pirates? I guess they are here for us, but there should be more than them. Wait for a while, and they are still some distance away from us. You 2 major groups continue to monitor and report if there is any situation. Kuruda thought and said, and quickly gave instructions to the 2 major groups. The 2 soldiers also quickly disappeared from the shadows and went to do things. Things are getting more and more interesting. Kuruda smiled. At the same time, the demise of the Black Cat pirates and the death of Crow, although it is a trivial matter in the entire sea, it is quite shocking in the East China Sea, and it was done by them. He remembered that there seemed to be some journalists in those resident certificates before. I believe that it will not be long before this matter will be spread. A little help to him will be less than 10,000, but it will definitely exceed several thousand reputation points. There must be some reputation value. After all, Maple's appearance and wonderful performance will still shock those who have been paying attention to their fallen pirate group. Just as Usopp thought before, such a strong fighting force is actually a shipwright, not a fighter or a sniper. Time finally came to the afternoon. According to the agreed time, except for Ariel and Sid who have entered the time training space, everyone else came to the dock and was about to board the ship. However, they knew the time to leave long ago, and Usopp and his 3 young generals, Kaya and Meili, also came here. They saw them off a little, which was also considered as a good host. Kuruda also took the opportunity to take a look at Kaya after eating the devil fruit. Not to mention other things, the most basic spirit and physical fitness have indeed improved a lot in a visible form. Her figure is fuller, her hair is brighter in the sunlight, and her smile is brighter. Seeing Kaya's current appearance, Kuruda is sure that she can join the Straw Hat Pirates with Usopp to travel and adventure. We are leaving. As we said before, we will see you on the sea in the future, Kuruda said, and his companions behind him also smiled. After all, the other party is already a friend, and the captain's friends are their friends. Of course, they should treat each other with courtesy and kindness. By the way, after you leave, there are still many properties in your house. How to deal with it? Kuruda asked curiously. Don't worry, I can hand it over to Meili before I leave. I trust him, and even originally wanted to surpass Chloe. In order to express my gratitude, I decided to give 30% of my family's property to Meili, as a thank you, and also as a salary for him to take care of my house for a long time in the future. Kaya said with a smile on her face. Meili was shocked when she heard this and wanted to refuse, but after hearing the following words, she didn't want to say it, because Kaya was giving him an overdraft of salary in advance, and he was still a tired worker, just a worker with a little money to spend on himself, so he could only smile and accept the young lady's intention. He didn't say anything against Kaya's going to sea, and even supported it very much. Kaya grew up under his care, and he also hoped that Kaya would pursue her dream instead of staying here for the rest of her life. So until now, he only said one sentence: I will listen to the young lady's instructions. Please rest assured, I will take good care of your house after you leave. If Kuro was still alive and knew everything in front of him, I wonder if he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. His self-proclaimed great idiotic plan was to lurk for about 3 years, create a good impression on everyone, and then cooperate with each other inside and outside, hypnotize Kaya, and seek wealth. In the end, he split the original Black Cat Pirates 30% and 70%. As a result, he is now more miserable than in the original work. After all, he was knocked unconscious and taken away in the original work. It's not like he died directly. However, Mary did spend more time with Kaya, and was more trustworthy. Both sides even regarded each other as family, and Kaya was indeed waiting for the Straw Hat Pirates to come and travel with Usopp. So, if we completely entrust this place to Mary, Kaya will still be able to do it. After confirming that there was really nothing wrong here, Kuruda also boarded the ship with his companions. After waving goodbye to Usopp and the others, the bull set sail again. Ariel was not there, so Kuruda could only take the helm temporarily. After all, she and Sid had already entered the lost training room to practice. At the same time, he was also thinking whether he should find an opportunity to practice in it. After all, as the captain of a group, his current strength was no longer the first. If he did not practice well, with the help of the time and space practice space he bought, not to mention the summoned partners, even Alan and Lucy would probably surpass him. Kuruda thought as he drove the bull out of Zyo Village and headed towards the sea. At this time, Luke came over hopping, and there was also Lucy behind. Seeing her sister's actions, she was a little speechless. When will this girl mature? Brother Ku, where are we going next? Luke asked with a smile, and Lucy behind him immediately restored a questioning expression. Zyo Village, we will meet our next partner there, Kuruda said. After knowing the exact location, the two women also performed their professional identities as navigators. They took out the map and some directional pointers of all the locations in the East China Sea that they had robbed before. After some exploration, the two women immediately confirmed the direction and the estimated arrival time based on the current speed of the ship. "Captain, I'll go around the ship and see if there is anything that needs repairing," Maple said to Kuruda with a toolbox. Kuruda waved his hand and said, "Go ahead." Maple also began to perform her duties as a shipwright on the Bull. However, after he left, Kuruda also gave Alan a new instruction. Smart readers probably guessed that it was to hold a welcome party for Maple. Alan and the two sisters, who were familiar with the route, naturally went down to do things after they were happy. Alan went to the kitchen to cook, and the two sisters arranged everything for the banquet at the same time, and also observed all the changes on the sea at any time. Everyone was busy again, calm and peaceful, but on the other side, still at the edge of the East China Sea in the first half of the Great Voyage, a good warship full of wild and ferocious atmosphere came in. From the flag on it, it is not difficult to see that this is the flag of the Beast Pirates, which is also notorious in the New World. Obviously, the people on this ship are from the Beast Pirates. And the most important thing is that the bow of this ship is actually a mammoth head. Needless to say, everyone knows who this ship belongs to. Even if the entire sea is left, many people know it. After all, in this sea, pirates with a bounty of 1 billion cannot be ignored. Now sitting on a chair on the deck of the ship is a giant man who is at least 8 meters tall. Tall and strong, with golden hair, a ponytail and 2 braids, a metal jaw on his mouth, and 2 ivory-shaped decorations on his head and shoulders. Wearing spikes, wearing a fur coat, and using 2 shuttle knife-like weapons. Wearing a belt with the logo of the Beast's Pirates. The covered mouth has thick lips and jagged teeth. And this is Jack the Drought, also known as the King of Ships by many One Piece fans. There is a joke that Jack's bounty is 1 billion Baileys, and 900 million is for ivory. He is also a famous reckless man on the sea. But this guy is also a fishman, a saddle-belted grouper fishman. So even if this guy is a devil fruit user, he can continue to fight when he encounters the seer conch and cannot use the devil fruit. After all, a strong man of this level cannot fight only with the devil fruit. Hockey, physical skills and swordsmanship are also the key. But in short, compared with the other two disasters, Jack's performance is indeed a bit dragged down, a bit like making up the numbers. But Jin and Quinn have advantages. One is science, home, and the other is the last remaining Lunaria clan. Master Jack, we have entered the East China Sea. We are now looking for the direction of the fallen pirates based on intelligence, and then we will go there. One of the subordinates quickly stood up and said, "Well, that's right. Find me if there is any situation, but this is the East China Sea. I think it shouldn't be as troublesome as the New World." Jack nodded and said, and at the same time he remembered that the East China Sea was simply a novice copy compared to the New World. Of course, you have to take advantage of the time when Garp goes home or Shanks comes here to play. Jack still can't afford to provoke these two. After all, his boss Kaido will not easily provoke these two. Of course, except for the ship, this is Jack's favorite, and he can't forget it no matter how strong the opponent is. But Master Jack, don't look at the fallen pirates as just a rookie group, but in terms of combat effectiveness, it is no less than any of the 4 emperors, right? We can't beat them at all. The subordinate did not leave, and said worriedly again. Well, so what? I believe the other party still has to give Governor Kaido a face and hand over those giant beasts obediently. Jack, who was extremely confident in his boss, immediately said with disdain and confidence. The former's disdain was directed at the fallen pirates, and the latter's confidence was directed at his own boss. But rather than being confident, it is better to say that it is arrogant. This led to Jack really becoming Cracker's scapegoat in the end, but Cracker's fate would not be much better by then. At the same time, a certain man was also rowing his own boat, chasing a pirate group that saw something he couldn't spread, and came to the East China Sea. But this man was not so much trying to erase something bad for him, as it was just for fun that he chased the pirate group in front of him and chased them all the way to the East China Sea. And who else could this man be except the world's #1 swordsman Hawkeye Mihawk? Time continued to pass, and at the same time, in another world. But looking at the sky, it seemed to have entered the evening. Still in that dark and strange forest, a purple castle stands here. This castle is naturally the Wolf Castle, and this is the green grassland, the world of Pleasant Goat and Big Wolf. And it is said that this wolf castle was built by Big Big Wolf himself, so in addition to catching sheep, Big Big Wolf can really do everything, and he can do everything to the best. At this time, in the Wolf Castle restaurant, on a city wall, there is a mutton feast. Cumin lamb, white cut lamb, braised lamb, 3 large plates, filled with mutton delicacies, delicious and fragrant. Big Big Wolf came out of the kitchen next to him with gloves on his hands. Big Big Wolf came out of the kitchen next to him with gloves on his hands, holding a large bowl, which seemed to be delicious mutton soup. After putting the mutton soup on the table, seeing that everything was ready, Big Big Wolf smiled slightly, and then hurriedly shouted to the side that it was time to eat. Let's go, Xiao Wei Wei, Daddy has cooked the mutton. Oh, we can eat mutton again today. 2 wolves walked in from outside the restaurant, one big and one small. Like gray wolf, they can walk independently on 2 feet. One of them looks like an adult female wolf, no, a female wolf, wearing a golden crown, purple eyeshadow next to her eyes, and a red robe. With her came a little wolf wearing blue overalls. Obviously, the previous conversation was the conversation between the mother and son. The 2 wolves immediately came to the dining table and sat down. The happy expressions and smiles on their faces in the past few days made Grey Wolf very satisfied and content. Their quality of life has really improved, all because he brought back mutton, and it's not a small amount, and he can bring it back often in the future. They are wolves, and their simple happiness is to eat mutton, as long as it is for the happiness of their family. Grey Wolf, who is full of responsibility and justice, doesn't mind accompanying Kuruda to adventure in the world over there. Now, looking at Hong Hong and Shalweiwei who were already eating, Grey Wolf was silent for a while, because he knew he had to speak, otherwise he would not be able to leave tomorrow morning. Hong Hong, Shalweiwei, do you want to know where this mutton comes from? Grey Wolf said with a slightly bitter smile. Hearing this, Shalweiwei and Hong Wolf also looked at him curiously, even the young and ignorant Shalweiwei was very curious. Because when he went to the sheep village to play with the sheep brothers and sisters this morning, the expressions on their faces were not sad or sad, and it was obvious that his father did not catch sheep from the sheep village. So where did the mutton they ate these days come from? Red Wolf was also very curious, where did Grey Wolf bring the mutton? But soon, Grey Wolf's next words made the 2 wolves completely lose their composure and stared at him blankly. Red, little Grey, these muttons are not the sheep I caught from the sheep village and then processed. Someone came to me a few days ago and was interested in my scientific research ability. He promised me that as long as he and I research technology there, these muttons will be my wages, and I will also have a lot of wealth, but the premise is that I will go out often in the future, and it will be difficult for me to come back once. Grey Wolf said with a bitter face, but at the same time he looked at his wife and children in front of him tenderly. After hearing what Grey Wolf said, he also said this. Red Wolf and Little Grey were stunned, and they understood it, even the young Little Grey knew it. It was different from before. His father would spend less time with him in the future because his father had to go out to work. After Red Wolf understood, he immediately said with disappointment and worry, how many days can you come back? Or in the green grassland? Obviously, as a wife, a mother, and an adult female wolf, Little Grey could think of it. She couldn't help thinking of it. So she also understood that her husband would not be able to accompany them often for a long time in the future, and he might even come back every few days. Don't worry, every time you come back, you can stay here for 3 days. Working there is basically 9 days. If you are busy, you have to delay it. But don't worry, I have made a lot of robots in the past 2 days, which can be responsible for protecting and taking care of you, so that I can rest assured about you when I go to work there. Grey Wolf said immediately. Red Wolf and Little Grey were silent after hearing this. Grey Wolf was a little panicked, thinking that it was his words that made his wife and son unhappy, and was about to say a few words of explanation. Little Grey. Dad, you can go to work over there without worry, Little Grey will take good care of Mom and the family. Red Wolf. Don't worry, my son and I can live well here without you. The most important thing about family is emotion, mutual understanding and care. Obviously, Red Wolf and Little Grey have completely accepted everything in front of them. Grey Wolf swallowed the words he wanted to persuade, opened his mouth, and showed emotion in his eyes. This is his family, the family he loves and wants to protect. Okay, let's continue eating. Red Wolf said with a smile, and immediately continued to eat mutton with Little Gray. Gray Wolf also quietly drank a mouthful of mutton soup. But suddenly the emotion disappeared, and he thought of a question, looking at Little Gray eating mutton in front of him. In the year of the tiger, due to the negligence of himself and his wife, Xiao Weiwei stayed with the lambs for a while, which also led to the relationship between the lambs and his son, and now they have completely developed friendship. That's strange, why can his son still eat mutton happily now? Thinking of this, Gray Wolf asked directly, "Son, aren't you good friends with the lambs? Then why can you eat mutton?" Red Wolf was also stunned when she heard this question, and stopped eating the mutton in her hand. Yes, she had never thought about it before. Now that Gray Wolf mentioned it, she also wanted to know it well. After Xiao Weiwei was stunned, he also stopped eating mutton, and then the answer he gave made Gray Wolf and Red Wolf stunned. "Ah, I am friends with the lamb brothers and sisters, what does it have to do with me eating mutton? Besides, the mutton that Dad got is not from the sheep village," Xiao Weiwei said with an innocent and cute expression. Gray Wolf, Red Wolf. After eating the mutton, Gray Wolf spent the last time with his wife and children before leaving tomorrow. At the same time, he also explained to his wife and son how to use some of the robots and daily necessities he invented. But he has basically input everything to the robot, such as what to do and how to charge it. Watched TV tonight together, took a bath with his son, and spent the night with his wife. Looking at his wife who was already sleeping in bed, Gray Wolf turned on his headphones and said something. "Captain, I will be back tomorrow morning." At the same time, although Gray Wolf and his friends had fallen asleep, Kuruda, who was on the other side at the same time, had not fallen asleep yet. So Kuruda quickly turned on his headphones and got the news from Gray Wolf. Kuruda, who stopped practicing, thought about it and asked the system to open Gray Wolf's 3-choice too. Because let's not talk about the fact that Gray Wolf is coming back, and Gray Wolf's strength is only that of a vice admiral, so naturally he needs a reward of 2 out of 3 to improve his strength. Even if Gray Wolf is a top scientist, it is the same in the pirate world. Generally speaking, a top scientist is more important than a top strong man here, but this is his fallen pirates, and no matter what profession, they must be extremely strong. And as far as he knows, Gray Wolf combat power in some special forms in the early and late stages is a first-class strong man even in the pirate world. How does that sentence say? Never underestimate the characters in the animation world. As Kuruda said, the system also responded, and 3 choices came out. Dark Wolf King form. Pleasant Goat, the special form of Big Big Wolf in the wonderful rescue of Big Big Wolf and Big Big Wolf, including the power of Dark Energy and Thunder Flash. Quote. Shadow Blade. In the second generation of the final battle of Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf, the weapon that Slow Goat made for Big Big Wolf has 6 blade forms and can also be mechanized by the user. Sirens. A special chariot developed by Big Big Wolf, which has appeared in many works and has amphibious combat capabilities. After reading these 3 options, Kuruda directly chose the first and second ones. Because the third reward is the Sirens, he believes that with the strength of Big Big Wolf, it is impossible not to build it if he collects materials in the pirate world. Although he also thought that the Bull was just a small boat, they would change to a big ship in the future, but the Sirens did not exist in the ship form, and the Sirens did not seem to be very practical in this pirate world. Even in the hands of Big Big Wolf, it was not as good as the first and second rewards. Because these 2 are practical, they are all special and powerful ones that Big Big Wolf has appeared in the TV series. Big form and weapons, the combat power is basically off the charts. Gray Wolf's Dark Wolf King form has a special sense of oppression, and the ability to control darkness and lightning at the same time. Shadow Blade is also a special weapon with both offensive and defensive capabilities. Multiple blades can change multiple combat methods. Especially after Gray Wolf is mechanized and combined with Shadow Blade, the combat power is off the charts, and cloud monsters can be easily killed in seconds. So choosing these 2 rewards is much stronger than the third reward Sirius. However, after choosing, Kuruda immediately said, "System, these 2 rewards will be given after Gray Wolf returns here." "Okay, host," the system replied, and the matter ended here. Everything will have to wait until tomorrow morning. At the same time, it was the same as what Kuruda thought. Although killing Kuro and destroying the Black Cat pirates was just a small matter, their fallen pirates had long been famous on the sea. Those shark reporters and media who would swim over like they smelled blood, how could they let them go? So soon this incident was still spread, especially Maple easily killed Kuro, exposing part of the mechanical god's ability and her own terrifying defense, and the subsequent destruction performance of the two sisters Lucy and Luke, which easily destroyed the Black Cat pirates. There in the eyes of some reporters, this is another big news hotspot. So these fermented news will soon be fermented again in the form of newspapers, and let people all over the sea know again. The night passed like this, but because Grey Wolf would come back to his room, Kuruda got up early in the morning. But plans can't keep up with variables. Until Lucy came to call him for breakfast, Grey Wolf hadn't come back yet. He could only tell Grey Wolf with headphones that even if he came back, he would stay in his room for a while, and then walked out the door and went to the restaurant to have breakfast. But not long after he left, the energy space channel opened. At the same time, there were two. The energy ball also appeared in it and flew towards the Grey Wolf who was passing by. On the other side, Grey Wolf actually got up early in the morning, kissed his wife and son on the head, made breakfast and left. But he didn't know that his actions had already awakened them, so when Grey Wolf walked out of the wolf castle, Red Wolf and Little Grey Wolf were watching him on the second-floor balcony, watching him leave. Their eyes were full of worry, expectation, sadness and other emotions, but the two wolves were more blessings to their husbands and fathers. They didn't return to eat the breakfast prepared by Grey Wolf until Grey Wolf disappeared from their eyes. Grey Wolf also found a place without animals to start. He found the portal and walked in immediately, but after a while, he saw two balls flying over. Grey Wolf was about to stay alert and take a fighting stance, but the ball of light flew into his forehead at an unimaginable speed. Grey Wolf was in a daze, but soon showed an expression of great joy. This must be the opportunity that the captain said was given to me. This is too powerful. What kind of high-tech weapon blade is this? It really matches this king, especially me after mechanization, and this Dark Wolf King form, which can give me the power of darkness and lightning. This Dark Wolf King in the king's posture is so handsome and fits this king's aura. Haha, thank you very much, Captain. Grey Wolf laughed, especially after learning that the Dark Wolf King's dress could be maintained all the time. He directly used this form. Soon, Grey Wolf changed as a whole. First, the sweet potato hat on his head disappeared, and first, the snake-shaped triangle black crown, with diamond-shaped red gems on both sides, and purple in the middle. The edge of the crown also extends to both sides of the face, with light blue diamond-shaped gems on it. Then he wore a black robe with white fur, showing the king's posture, and at the same time a bit of luxury. After all, it was covered with gems. At the same time, the dark decadent breath and the burst of lightning also spread all over Grey Wolf. This feeling is really great, and I have another kind of power. With these two powers, I can get everything I want, whether here or in my original world. Power and strength no longer need to be a clown in front of others, ha 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 ha. While laughing, Grey Wolf has come to Kuruda's room. But when he came here, he stopped laughing. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.